next number, I'd like to return to the classics.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 56 of Ono Anime, the podcast. It is 7:25 p.m. on Tuesday, April 10th, 2018. My name is Mark.
And I'm Patrick.
And we are back, motherfuckers. We are
Cheers
back
to
in the studio. And we got ourselves some bourbon. Take
A
a
little
sip.
fresh coat of paint.
Oh, that's good. Be sure to watch this on YouTube. You can get all the
So you can watch us.
golden
like,
brown flavor of Bullet Bourbon.
That is pretty good stuff.
And, yeah, speaking of which, I'd like to bring up, we are sponsored by Bullet Bourbon this week.
It's a new step for us.
It's a smooth, refreshing finish with a bold flavor that is guaranteed to excite you. Bullet Bourbon.
We aren't. In
Drink
fact,
it.
they're probably going to sue us now.
Yeah, probably. This is
how
an
it
endorsement nobody would want. Anyways, we're back in the studio. Bigger and better than ever, literally. We have a lot more space to work with.
pretty nice.
We have so much room for activities, basically. is
So
what I'm
much
trying to say.
room for a showcase as well.
So, yeah, we've already agreed that basically every week we'll be adding a figure to this table until
need additional tables.
we're like 50 feet out from the wall and have like 1,000 figures.
We're going to be
behind us.
taping our figures to the green screen.
Yeah.
We would never do that to
We're
our
gonna
figures.
be hanging them from
grab some
like,
twine.
fishing line.
You've got
above
rafters
us.
here. It's cool. We'll make it work.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on behind us right now because that's all post processing. So
I can see it.
probably just like a cityscape burning. Yeah, it's just
That's Detroit.
the third
Just
impact
do a Inferno Cop. Just run an entire
Perfect.
episode of Inferno Cop in the back.
with audio over ours and
Better than
none of
ours.
our audio.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, as you can probably tell, we're trying to keep it a little loosey goosey this week.
It's been a while since we had one of those.
Yeah. Sometimes we like to do things more formal around this time. Season starts, season ending. But look, man, we're fucking busy. We're adults.
Yeah, we're busy. And not only that, anime is making us more busy. There is an absurd amount of things worth watching this season. So
There's still some
we can't
stuff
keep track of them
that
all.
ended last season that we want to talk about. And we will be getting to both of those on the show today. We'll also be talking about some other goings on, I'm sure. And finally, we're going to be answering some of your questions. We got some questions on Twitter today. I put a post out. And then we have some email questions that we're going to read as well. So that'll be at the end of the episode. So if you send us a question, we are going to read it on today's episode.
Yeah.
Because there ain't many, as is par for the course for us. But, you know, that's how we do.
It is nice because when we first started, we said that at the end of every episode. And now we can go on Twitter. Thank you, Twitter followers. And we
God
can
for
get
Twitter.
a few, which is nice.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a nice amount of friends on Twitter. So thank you for engaging in both the social media sense and also
Engagements
just in
do
the,
equal self-worth.
Yes, they do. They make us rock hard. Basically, I'm just going to come out and say it. I mean, there's no other easy way to put it. I mean, they give us sexual satisfaction. So, anyways, on that note,
Thank you, followers.
that's basically what this episode's going to be about.
I just saw our follower count go down. Weird. This episode isn't even out yet.
We have 0 followers. I didn't know that was possible on Twitter. Crazy. Anyways, so Patrick, what have you been up to?
Yeah, first of all, I've been gearing to DM my first campaign, which is super exciting. I don't know how many D&D playing listeners we have, but I feel like there's a lot more lately, just in general. Maybe it's because of Stranger Things. I don't know, but I'm so glad that it's like
there are
an
also
accepted thing.
no shortage of very good D&D podcasts out there that I'm sure are inspiring people.
I've been very, very deep into Critical Role lately since they started their second campaign, the Adventure Zone.
The holy triumvirate of Critical Role, the Adventure Zone, and Friends at the Table is just like, I'm sure, exploding D&D and podcast listenership.
They are making my life at work so much more enjoyable. And there's a lot of content to get through, so that's super exciting. And
we'll get there eventually.
Yeah,
bonus episode.
And
once we get on Patreon, that'll be a Patreon exclusive.
Play D&D with the boys.
Yeah. Or hear us play D&D with Lin-Manuel Miranda. Like the
Dude,
Adventure does.
that'd be so.
That's what they did with the Adventure
He was on
Zone.
Adventure Zone?
Yeah, you know they're like best friends with him, right?
No.
Yeah.
I don't.
Lin-Manuel Miranda and the Bim Bam Boys like are literally best friends.
I had no clue.
He's been on their show like 10
I'll be
times.
honest, you're probably going to kick me out, but like their brand of humor isn't really mine. I
It's fine.
admire
It's
what
not
they
for
do, and I
everybody.
like that everybody likes it, but I've never I've never been huge on them, but I might have to go and look up when they're with Lin-Manuel Miranda. Because it's kind of really cool.
You're going to have to donate to Maximum Fun, which is their podcast network. It's also going through their Max Fun Drive right now, so it's a good time to donate. And I think it's called the Adventure Zone Nights, and it's like a bonus episode.
Is it a one-shot?
Yeah, it's a one-shot where
sick.
they literally sat down with Lin-Manuel Miranda, and he played his first and probably last game of D&D.
That's really
and it's
cool.
like a steampunk
But
thing.
for those of you who don't know, a little crossover for D&D and anime, Critical Role is run by Matt Mercer, who is a famous voice actor, and everybody on it is also a famous voice actor, and most of them got famous doing anime.
And that's actually relevant to a question that we have, because we did get a question about like Western voice actors that we will answer later. So that'll tie nicely.
There. But that's super cool. One of them actually just got nominated for a Daytime Emmy for writing and directing too. So
that's cool.
Critical Role, it's good.
Yeah, it's good. It's good shit. And Matt Mercer couldn't have been a better guy to run it. He's awesome.
He's been DMing for like 25 years or some crazy shit.
He's the real deal.
Anyway, so that's been a lot of my spare time preparing for that, because I've never DM'd before, and I've been listening to those podcasts, and I wanna make it fun, and my group is pretty RP heavy, so a lot of time is going into building that world, and I'm really enjoying it. Other than that, I was actually in New York for about 30 hours again, as is tradition. I've been in New York 3 times now, and I've never been there for more than 36 hours. But I finally got to see a Broadway show. For those of you who don't know, I'm actually a big musical and Broadway fan. I saw Anastasia, which was great.
Wait, this was your first Broadway show?
Yeah.
Holy shit, man.
Yeah, I go to musicals here in Tampa all the time. I have season tickets.
That's really exciting.
But I had never seen one on Broadway, and I went and saw Anastasia, which was super cool.
Is this...
Hang on. Okay, so Anastasia, we're an anime podcast, Western animation.
Look,
those of you who don't
We've
remember,
talked about Western animation before.
Yeah, no, it's great. Anastasia in that, the villain was Rasputin. And this Rasputin isn't mentioned, and he is replaced by communism. Communism is now the villain, and I'm not even kidding.
Boy.
Like, it's,
I mean, I
it's
guess that makes more sense.
Well, yeah, because it's the Bolshevik Revolution.
Yeah.
The Romanovs get killed off in the beginning, and Anastasia is dead. Or
now that I think about it,
dead.
it's actually really stupid that Rasputin is the villain, because he is
cartoon,
was one of the closest people to the
Romanovs. Yeah, but it was really good, and John Bolton plays Vlad, the comedic relief, and he carried the show.
Not the new national security advisor.
No, other John Bolton.
Not a piece of shit.
John Bolton, the bus driver on Kimmy Schmidt.
I see. Okay.
But he was really good. The entire production was great. It was really cool to finally see something on Broadway. That's kind of been a dream.
It is. You don't really get it until you go. The Great White Way.
It's so cool that like they do it so often too. There's how many theaters? Like 20-something theaters?
There's a lot.
I don't know. And then there's just like seas of people, and they do it like twice a day. And
Broadway is more of a concept now than like a physical location.
No, it's really cool. But
the theaters are amazing.
Yeah.
Every single time I've been in one, it's been
as
incredible.
Cool as that was. The reason I went up is because a friend of mine invited me to a show that's like off Broadway. There's 15 people per show, and I had no idea what to expect. The only thing he told me is it's a little bit more interactive than a Broadway show. I'm like, oh, interactive theater, that seems cool.
This sounds like a fucking nightmare to me. So I'm super excited.
I'm not sure how you would have done it.
I would have not gone. Is how I probably would have handled it.
He kept me in the dark. Other than that, but I'm so glad he did, because it made the experience that more rich. If you guys live anywhere near New York and you've ever thought about seeing I can't even call it a show, an event called Then She Fell, stop listening for the next few minutes because I'm about to spoil the shit out of it. But suffice to say, it was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had in my life. Like top 10 easy.
Holy shit.
So we're hanging out in Brooklyn, getting ramen. People are showing up. We got 15 people. He bought out the show. And he says, all right, it's time to get ready to go. We're like, okay, cool. And he leads us to what looks like, because it is, an abandoned hospital in Brooklyn. It's like on a side street.
What the fuck?
So we're there, and the door opens, like right on time. The door opens, and there's a guy dressed like a nurse. And he says, 5 of you may enter at this time. Just like straight face. 5 of us go in. I'm still outside. We're talking to everybody. I'm not convinced that I didn't get signed up for like a weird orgy at this point.
Or like an escape room or something.
Yeah. So I'm still like, what's going on? But I'm excited and a little tipsy and just like ready to go, because this seems like the coolest thing ever. So we get in, and actually the first part is sort of like an escape room. You get in, and you're very
go.
clearly in not even a psych ward. It's like an insane asylum. Like, it's built to look like the 20s, and there's little hints on the wall that kind of let me know, oh, this is loosely Alice in Wonderland / Lewis Carroll based. Which, so I'm already like 150% there. But come in, they sit you down, or they give you keys, they give you a shot, and everything I found out later is done by like a professional mixologist. I have no idea what was in the shot, but it was delicious.
That's cool.
But so you do the shot, and they just let you kind of explore around the room. Everybody gets 4 different keys, and the keys open things. And I thought maybe it was an escape room, but eventually they tell you to take a seat, and the head doctor comes in, and she does this spiel, which is complete bullshit. Like, you can tell it's just like some trippy Lewis Carroll shit, really. Yeah. And as you do that, other orderlies and nurses come through and grab you in groups of 1, 2, or 3 and kind of shoo you out. So we're getting separated immediately. So I'm like, this is already crazier than anything I've ever done. So the only rule, by the way,
this doesn't sound like a play.
It was a theatrical thing. It's not. It's really it was like experimental art. Yeah, it's experimental art. Yeah, it was definitely an experience. But the only rule is, or there were 2, I'm sorry, is only speak when spoken to respect other people's privacies and other people's, experience, and don't open doors unless instructed, because obviously they're doing shit behind the scenes to fix stuff up. Yeah. But I get led up to a room with a girl that I've just met. Like, I don't know this person at all. I already forgot her name from 10 minutes ago. Like, that's where we're at. And we get led into a small room that's maybe like 8 feet deep by 3 feet wide. And on the side, there's like a cork board with like a conspiracy theory type thing about Lewis Carroll and Alice Liddell, the actual girl that he wrote Alice in Wonderland for, and may or may not have been predatory towards. He definitely was.
We don't need to talk about that.
Yeah. So we're there, and there's a bed on the other side of the room. So we're just kind of exploring the room as we've been told to do, and not saying anything because we've been instructed not to say anything. And then the lights dim. The door's closed behind us, and the lights dim, and then the door like cracks open, and a woman in a corset comes in with a lantern, turns the lantern up, and says, "It's time for a bedtime story. Please get in bed." And I'm like, So she gets in the bed. And I'm just like, I don't know this person. It's a twin bed too. Like, it's a tiny thing. God. So I'm still thinking, oh no, this is an orgy. Weird. But she then like motions to me with a lantern to get in bed as well. And I do. And then she says, all right, close your eyes. It's time for a bedtime story. And she goes through this crazy thing. And it was just weird. So that ended. And we get led to another room. And halfway doing that, Alice comes out of a trap door in the wall and grabs my hand and says, "Follow me." Jesus. And the thing is like that for 2 hours, and you get led through a story that does have theatrical components. Like, a lot of things get acted out, and there's like dance numbers in there and music plays, and the whole thing is set. But all of the 15 people had vastly different experiences. And because we bought the thing out, we actually got a tour and a cast meet and greet afterwards. That's cool. Which was super cool. So we kind of got an idea of the overarching thing, but it was just really cool. And that was like the least interactive part. When Alice grabbed my hand and took me to a room, it was like a broom closet with red fabric everywhere and a bunch of dolls. So I'm terrified. My heart's beating out of my chest. And she asked me to pick out my favorite doll. I'm just like, I wanted to say, I hate all of these, but I didn't. I picked one, and she's just like, oh, that's a good pick. I like the color of the dress or whatever. And she takes it from my hand, puts it back, and then grabs a doll and says, "This one is my favorite. Do you know why?" I'm like, no. She goes, "Because this one's going to be queen," and like violently puts it back. And then motions for me to sit in a chair. She sits in a chair in front of me, hands me a hairbrush, and says, "Brush my hair." So I'm sitting there brushing this actress's hair thinking, I don't know what this is, but this is kind of amazing. I've never experienced anything like this. And she starts asking me about like life and love. At that point, I'm just like, sure, whatever. I'm all in. I'm like as honest as I've ever been. And thankfully, she didn't show up to the meet and greet, so I didn't have to face what I said.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
But it was, God, I can't like...
That does sound significantly less... nerve-wracking to me. That sounds more fun because
no, it was
what I was envisioning was an actual off-Broadway participatory production usually is, where they like bring people up on a stage in front of everybody else. And fuck that. But that sounds great.
Yeah, it was cool. It was called Then She Fell. If you're in New York, I understand it's quite expensive. I don't understand how expensive. I've been told it's expensive. Chandler was awesome and just...
If you're
bought the
in New
place
York
out.
and are told something is expensive, it's fucking expensive.
Either way...
Not as
do
expensive
it.
as somewhere on the West Coast, but still fucking expensive.
It was one of the coolest things I've ever experienced. Just
That is
2
cool.
hours of that, and like, God, and got to drink with the cast later. And then we closed up, and we went to another bar with the cast and kept drinking.
That is cool.
It was like top 10 life experiences for sure.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Sounds like New York. That sounds like a thing
it was
you do in New York.
the most New York thing ever.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Well, I have not been up to much. Man, the beginning of this year for me is just fucking nothing. The second
Sometimes you
half
need
of
a
this
rest.
year is going to be fantastic, starting with AX and going all the way through to the end. But yeah, I very purposely just like kind of didn't line anything up in this year, mostly because last year was so. These last 2 years have been very crazy.
I've
for me,
been
but-
go forever.
Yeah. So I'm excited, but I am getting antsy. Like I'm excited to start getting out there again and start, giving the good tent to everybody. But I have been doing a few things. I guess the most important thing, in the interest of saving time and just getting right to it, is Toonami and Adult Swim did another crazy thing. April Fool's Day fell on a Sunday this year, which means that midnight Saturday night was the beginning of April Fool's Day, and
That was a weekend.
I was sitting at home, not really doing anything, and all of a sudden I start seeing whispers on Twitter of maybe Toonami doing something, because they always do something for April Fool's Day. I mean, their entire current presence on TV is based around a April Fool's Day prank that they pulled after they got canceled in 2012 and came back because of it. So I start seeing people posting screenshots of their Hulu Plus lineup, where it basically lists all the shows that they're going to play in a night. And someone's like, yo, Toonami from 12 to 2 has an episode of Fully Cooley Alternative listed, and then Mind Game, Masaki Yuasa's insane mixed media thing. And I was just like, okay, like this is crazy. And that was like 11 p.m. Come 12 p.m., the bump comes, and they're like, next up, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Battle Tendency, or whatever. I think Stardust Crusaders, because that's what's currently in the time slot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ah, shit, like they're not going to do anything. And then the screen just goes like, and blinks off. Then it comes back, and everything's in Japanese. Adult Swim is in Japanese. Tom is speaking in Japanese.
That's so cool. Do we know who his voice actor was? Or was it just Steve Bloom
People were
speaking
saying
Japanese?
it was Koichi Yamadera, but it's not Koichi Yamadera, because they were just saying that because Steve Bloom voices.
Yeah.
Voices.
They're
I
like
think
an
it was just
analog,
it was probably just someone who works in America as a Japanese voice actor, because why the hell would you spend all that money to get a Japanese voice actor just to do that
your Adult
dumb
Swim.
joke? So yeah, they start. Everything starts happening in Japanese, and Tom is speaking, and there's subtitles, and he's just like, yeah, welcome to Toonami, here we go. And the first episode of the third season of Fully Cooley just starts, and it's in Japanese.
Yeah.
And it's Toonami, man. They do this shit.
I was at one of my best friends. Her birthday is on April Fool's, so I was over there partying it up, and I look at my phone and I see what's happening, and I'm just overcome with anger.
I know. Yeah.
I am so mad. Like
I would
it
feel
was,
the same way if I was not there to witness it.
It was the most Fully Cooley, and more importantly, the most Adult Swim Toonami thing that they could have possibly done. But having been such a fan for my entire life, and having been there when they announce it, been there when they show the new trailers.
We've been riding this thing since minute
and
one.
For them to do that,
we literally streamed the day that they announced this thing.
And for them to do that sucked.
Yeah.
I was upset. I was also like catatonically drunk.
Yeah. The one good thing about it, I guess, is that it's the first episode of the third season.
Yeah.
So they still haven't spoiled basically what we were all waiting for.
That's true.
And also, we haven't heard it in English, which is the way I want to watch it anyway. So as much as I love Mayumi Shintani and all the other voice actors they have on there, like Fully Cooley, I grew up watching that thing in English. I want to see it with the original voice cast and stuff. So, and from what I've heard, the new dub is great. So
I'm sure it will be. I was upset at the way they did it, but then I watched it and all the upsetness just washed away. That was fucking fantastic.
Yeah. So, I don't. It's weird. Like I don't think I probably ever was going. I mean, how could anything meet the hype and expectations? You know, and I think as soon as it started, I was just like, okay. Like I immediately started thinking to myself, this is not going to meet it's not going to meet half of the hype and expectation, because this is, I mean, it's the same thing as if they were like, oh, we're bringing Cowboy Bebop back, or some other insane popular property from your childhood. Like when they bring something from your childhood back, it's impossible to make it like what you remember. But what I saw is definitely its own thing, and I like what that thing is. Yeah,
there's a lot to say about that. Mostly, like, I really like that the main characters are all girls now.
Yes.
Because that puts an awesome spin on what we got. Because what we got, obviously, we related a lot to the main character. But there's still enough, like...
well, the main characters of both series are girls.
Yeah.
The second season is following Hidomi, who is the first character that we were told about, basically, when this thing was announced. The second season or the third season is all girls. So.
There's that, but I also love that there was enough analogs to that. Watching the thing, spoilers if you haven't seen this first episode, like don't listen to the next probably half an hour.
like
as soon as Haruko showed up, and like I see the main character, I forgot her name, her forehead, I'm just like, this thing's about to get whacked somehow, and I'm just sitting there in anticipation. I'm like, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? And it just gets fucking like drop kicked in the head. I'm like, there it is.
Yeah.
I was waiting for it.
Yeah.
And it's fun. Like, it met my expectations. Yeah. It was a good time.
The first episode definitely followed the formula that you're used to. Like, it's 75% like, you know, teen slice of life stuff, and then like 25% like very well animated, goofy action.
It was funny because I was watching it with someone who has never seen Fooly Cooly. Obviously, I've seen the thing a million times, but I'm sitting there and I can more or less guess what's about to happen most of the time because it's the zany Fooly Cooliness, and she's just like, this makes zero sense. How do you know what's about to happen? I'm like, it's a thing.
It is a lot more coherent than the original Fooly Cooly was. And the original Fooly Cooly obviously was incoherent by design, so that's not too surprising. And I like it because obviously, you know, they're making Fooly Cooly for the people that grew up watching Fooly Cooly. So you don't really there's not really any need to make it as purposefully incoherent and strange, because unlike, you know, I mean, obviously a lot of people have analyzed Fooly Cooly to death, but at the end of the day, that thing was an animation experiment first and foremost. And I think, you know, the story was almost like accidentally good and accidentally impactful. So, you know, they're writing from a much different perspective than the original Fooly Cooly series. But I think as soon as that first episode started, and this is I think probably the mark of I think this series will probably be successful in my eyes, at least. The moment that first episode that I saw started, I immediately made peace with the fact that this was just its own thing, and it's like, I was going to try not to measure it against the original Fooly Cooly in any meaningful way, because how can you possibly make a sequel to Fooly Cooly? It's an impossible task.
You just kind of do your own thing and hope it works out.
But the good thing that I saw, and I think that a lot of people saw, was they are definitely using this as an excuse to showcase the current generation, new generation of animators.
There was some good shit in that episode,
you know, too. The general slice of like, you know, there's not much to say by way of like standout character animation in there. It is animated very similarly to how the original Fooly Cooly was in terms of character animation, where like everything is very choppy.
Yeah, it's all about the impactful keyframes.
Yeah,
and like there were scenes that reminded me almost, you know, frame for frame of some original ones, and they were drawn by different animators, which is cool.
The first like 16 minutes of the episode are like very 2D, and then there is a moment, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, where the show explodes out of the TV, and it's the scene where Haruko is like coming through the glass.
Yep.
Easily one of the coolest bits of Sakuga I have ever seen. My
jaw was on the ground.
I was like, are you fucking kidding me with this shit? Like, literally, like, and I know they used a shitload of computers to achieve that, because there's no way that any one person would be able to track that many flying bits of but we're talking about a fully 2D, not background, but like foreground objects and like a ton of shit with depth of field and everything flying through the air, all with independent trajectories. Like think of the opening bits of Akira with like the shit falling off the building, like that level of insane, just individual, like it looked like a fucking like Joff Darrow page out of one of his comics. Like it was just so packed with detail, and it only lasted like a second, but I was just like, are you fucking joking right now? This looks so good. So yeah, I mean, there was, it wasn't, it's not the type of show that I think is going to be as jam packed with like interesting, crazy Sakuga like the first one was. But what I did see in terms of action animation was incredibly promising. And obviously that'll get better and more frequent as the series goes along. But, and this is another point that I think I made to you or to someone on Twitter, but the fact that they're showing us the first episode of the later season bodes very well for the production of this thing. Like I would not be surprised if it was basically done.
It probably is. Yeah.
Like I would not be surprised. I mean, they announced it a long time ago, and it's only 12 episodes.
I'm pretty sure for American, broadcasts, they want the whole show done before it gets delivered.
Yeah. So
that was the bad turn of phrase, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. But yeah, so I mean, it's very promising. It is more fully coolly. I would not be surprised if not a whole lot of people like it. But from what I've seen, the response has been basically like, did I need a new sequel to Fully Cooley? No. Did I go into this with high expectations? No. Am I cynical about this? Yes. But as soon as the pillow started, I was
That's
fucking
what it
in.
is. Everyone I've talked to that's seen it is the same way. It's just like, I was so kind of and then despite myself, as soon as the pillows start, you're right there with it.
Yeah. So that's the other thing about this series that I've learned a lot more since the last episode is just exactly what the Pillow's involvement is in terms of just like pure meaty numbers. So apparently earlier this year at a concert, they confirmed that the Fully Cooley soundtrack was 14 tracks long. The new Fully Cooley soundtrack was 14 tracks long. And they said it was a mix of new and old tracks. And the insinuation was that they had re-recorded older stuff, not necessarily older stuff from the Fully Cooley, like the original Fully Cooley series, because there wasn't any original Fully Cooley music in the first episode. I don't think there will be anywhere, except for maybe like, I would not be surprised if like Little Busters happened in like last episode of the last season. Like that would just kill everyone. As soon
as they play like Right on Shooting Star, everybody dies.
Yeah. I mean, it was in the trailer, so I wouldn't be surprised if some older stuff shows up. But in terms of new music that was not in a previous Fully Cooley series, it looks like it's 14 tracks. And we did see 2 tracks that the Pillows had previously released. The thing that I think is pretty safe to assume at this point, so they left King Records in like 2006 and started their own record company, and then were on that until 2016 when I think that record company was then bought out again by King Records and joined as a subsidiary. So I don't think any music between 2006 and 2016 is going to be in the show, which is fine.
A big gap.
But it's fine because there are the period between 2000 and 2006, for me at least, is the biggest gold mine of music that should be in Fully Cooley that wasn't, like all the music that they pulled for Fully Cooley was all from albums from like 94 to 99. And all the stuff that they produced in the 6 years after Fully Cooley came out is, in my opinion, their best work. Like even better than the stuff in Fully Cooley, which is a hard argument to make. But so yeah, fucking My Foot, which is one of my favorite Pillow songs, it was in the episode, and it sounded like it was not a new version, but a re-recorded version. It's just so
at least
fucking
a remaster.
It's so fucking perfect. It was so fucking perfect. Like the use of music in this series is already exactly what it needs to be. Like the instrumentals are there.
Listening to it made me wonder, honestly, if maybe Radwimps was inspired by them and Your Name. So it feels thematically similar. And for those of you who don't know, Radwimps literally like they wrote the music for the movie. It was scored for the movie.
I mean, the idea of a band scoring a thing is still somewhat rare in anime. I think Radwimps took a much more theatrical approach to theatrical, obviously it's a fucking theatrical film, of course they took a much more orchestral approach to the scoring of Your Name, but they're still, they're blurring the lines between what is a soundtrack and what is an insert song. Definitely could have been inspired by The Pillows, but like The Pillows just straight up like there is no difference between an insert song and an OST. Everything is everything, and that's just the way that The Pillows work with Fooly Cooley. So, but yeah, I'm very happy with what I saw. I'm very excited to see what the second season looks like because I had no fucking clue what was going on in that third season. They were definitely referencing stuff that we should have already known. They were calling Haruko by a different name. I don't know what's going on. So I'm very excited to see it. And
you look at it that way. I just figure we still won't know.
I mean, I'm sure we won't either. But I mean, I like I said, they're very clearly taking a much more measured approach to Fooly Cooley than they did last time. I think only because
they have expectations now.
Yeah, that's just the nature of how you do things. I mean, to try to be as unpredictable and wild as the first Fooly Cooley was is complete folly. So you have to just build off of what you already have, and it looks like they're doing that. At the very least, it looks like they are making about as good faith of an effort for that team as anyone can.
Yeah, I wasn't upset at all. Like the only thing that upset me was not being there when it aired.
Yeah.
Other than that, perfect.
I mean, I could do without the token fat character that only eats and exists for comic relief, but I mean, I know how much. For some reason, that's asking a lot
Japan.
in anime, but yeah. So anyway,
it's not even just Japan; it's that group of creators because
Trigger
does the same shit.
It's for sure, but that's the weird thing is that almost none of those creators are working in a large capacity on this series. So I don't know. I don't know. She did have some redeeming moments.
And
she
definitely has other stuff, but her main thing was being fat.
It is Fooly Cooley, and I would not be surprised if they subvert some of those expectations because she definitely had cues to where she was like the most creative and the most intelligent out of all of them. Because all the rest of them kind of seem pretty dumb, pretty vapid, like like teenage girls, like like teenagers in general, but especially like the image of a teenage girl. Yeah. Whereas she seemed very concentrated in what she liked, and like the fact that she just got up and was just like, I just want to fucking build a rocket.
That was really
cool.
I like that.
I liked that. So I could see them subverting her a little bit. But yeah, I could probably do without that stereotype. But anyways, we won't know shit about that until September. So anyways, let's move on, shall we?
Yeah, that'll do it for our podcast. We'll see you next.
Yeah. So let's talk about last season.
Yeah, let me bring up a chart. I don't remember what aired last season that isn't still airing.
Not much.
No, I do know that I wanted to talk about Place Further Than the Universe. Yes. I don't like opening up with my strongest thing, but that was by and far my favorite of the season, and so much so that I gave it one of my rare 10s. My anime list is like well over 1,000 at this point, and I think I've got maybe 6 or 7 10s, and I don't even rate things that aren't 10s. It's just the funny thing about this show in particular is that it's not even like near the top of my list of favorite shows or most entertaining shows, but goddamn, everything it set out to do, it did in absolute perfection.
For what it was the best type of thing that it could have possibly been.
Like not a single note was missed, not a second was wasted. All the insert songs were perfect. Like the characters felt like people.
I never once saw someone anywhere online saying, "Oh, I think they could have done this," but like no. It was just universal praise from start to finish. Basically,
God, what a well put together show. Like I gave it a 10 out of respect for the fact that there's nothing to nitpick.
It's still crazy to think that was fucking Madhouse that did that show.
Yeah.
Not a typical Madhouse show.
No, but God, I'm glad they did it. I've been listening to all the insert songs since they came out. Aniuta has them, which is great. And like the color palette, everything from the ground up was immaculate.
It just feels like a blur to me almost. Like it's just it was a literal ride.
It also affected me like very heavily. You know, when it wanted to hit those emotional notes, I was sitting there crying. When it wanted me to be happy because a character did something, I was sitting there saying, how do they translate the Zamamiro? Was it like eat this or
in your face?
In your face, yeah. Like I felt that. I felt that with the characters. Just like, yeah, I fought against your expectations and I overcame them, and in your face.
Yeah. I mean, there was a moment every episode that had the emotional poignancy of like a lesser show's final episode.
Yeah.
Like it was the same sort of feeling in terms of emotional intensity, like with like the third episode of Kill la Kill, where it was just so insane and so so well done in its milieu, to where you're like, how the fuck do you follow what literally feels like the last episode of a lesser series?
Every episode was like that.
Yeah,
it was incredible.
How do you follow the scene of all of them crying in the highway or in the hallway? Like,
that room. I thought that was the end of the show, and people were like, "There's another episode." I'm like,
yeah, no,
I don't even care about the other episode. And then the other episode got me. It was a perfect cleanup. Like, I almost wish that there wouldn't be a second season, but I'm completely open to a second season because then they can go to the Arctic. Which wrapped up as a storyline that was in the third episode?
Like a completely different place. Like imagine them going like the Amazon or
like Africa or Serengeti or something.
It would be cool as shit.
All the characters, like even the side characters, were so well realized.
Yeah. And the other, I think my favorite thing about that show was obviously the whole dead mom thing is like a very common trope in anime.
Yeah.
But from start to finish, they hit that nail on the head so perfectly with just how devastating it is to lose a parent at that age. But not only that, like how much of a blemish it is on everyone as a person when you go on such a high risk expedition like that and come back without like one of your most important members.
Yeah.
And not only that, but like obviously one of your best friends. Like I don't know how I would be able to reconcile myself. Yeah, not only that, but I don't know how I would even be able to live with myself, especially knowing that she has a young daughter. Like, and she was what, like 7 or 8 when her mom died. Yeah. Like it's like the age where you're old enough to know that your mom is never coming home, but not old enough to
be able to deal with it.
Yeah, it's
it's gonna mess you up for life.
But they did a really fantastic job of
giving Shirase closure.
Yeah, giving Shirase closure, but also just conveying to you, the viewer, that this is not just another anime with someone's mom who's dead, that's their motivation, and that's as far as you ever go, is just that knowledge. They absolutely
flesh it out.
Yeah, they nail it. Like, it literally feels like a stake through the heart every time that they address it, because it is such a devastatingly serious thing to lose a parent, and especially in that way that in any other anime would have been a noble sacrifice or some dumb shit like that, where it's just like, in this one, it's just like, it's just fucking Antarctica. Like, people just die here.
Yeah.
Like, that's just the nature of this thing.
I think all that served to make the feeling of catharsis greater in the end when she receives the final email. Yeah. Everything like, oh my God. It was like a weight lifted off of my shoulders, and I was sitting there crying with her.
Yeah. Yeah,
God,
Jesus Christ,
just absolute incredible. And she cuts her hair and looks more like it. Oh my God,
me.
every note was
where
perfect.
They're like, when you smile, you look so much like her. It's just like, why would you do this to us?
The whole mahjong thing,
devastating.
Oh man,
yeah.
So the subtlety, and we're talking about the main plot line, but everybody else was great too. I apologize for not remembering her name, but the one that had the problem with the track team. Like, that was the one who her shirts all had food on them, and that was great. I have bad memory with names, but like her story was so great, because so often in anime, they go the forgiveness route, and in this they didn't. They took a much more like actual thing where you move on. God. Like okay, these people feel bad and they want to make amends, but you know what? I don't want to deal with that. They fucked up. I'm done with them. I
mean, in a way, that's kind of a central theme in the show for a lot of the characters.
There we go. Hinata Miyake.
I was literally going to say Hinata, and I didn't know why. But it's really a central theme for a lot of characters in the show. I mean, if you, kind of throwing your success in the face of the people that doubted you. Hinata did it with her shitty old track teammates, and
I got it up right here. Which one?
The main girl, but the Shirase.
Shirase is the main girl, the dead mom.
Yes, Shirase was basically throwing the fact that she got in it to Antarctica, even if she didn't have anyone directly to address and say fuck you, look where I'm at. She was able to say that and basically throw it in the face and even the other main girl with the bowl haircut. I'm sorry guys, I can't remember any of their names.
As much as I love the characters and as fleshed out as they were, the show's over. I forgot the names.
Well, also it feels like it's been a fucking year since that show ended.
I've watched
already.
enough anime for a year since.
Yeah. But even she was able to basically
the idol actor one.
No, the actual main girl.
Oh,
the one
Mari.
Mari. Himari. Yeah, there we go. Or Kimari. Yeah, that's her nickname. Even she was able to basically say to her friend, no, fuck you. You're not going to not be friends with me over this stupid thing. Oh my God, that's dumb.
That's another thing I want to point out about the show. If you go and watch it a second time, which I haven't, but Twitter lit me up with these things, the amount of foreshadowing was more and more excellently done and subtle than anything I've ever seen. Like Kimari's friend in an earlier episode when she's talking to Shiraishi about knowing that the friends are there even if they aren't replying. It cut away to this girl reading a book about the Arctic, and then at the end you find out, oh, she fucking did it 6 episodes later, and it was literally a one throwaway scene. And there was a previous one where with Hinata you saw her you saw her track shoes, her cleats. And it was just this is so well planned out.
There are a lot of things about the show where they really do a good job of showing you the way people actually fucking act in real life.
They're all people.
Instead of how people act so often in anime. It's very refreshing. And it was also super refreshing. And I said this a lot, and I think one of the most commonplace positive points of the show is the girls are quirky and weird and they act like idiots, and that's so fucking realistic to what high school kids are like. They're just dumb and strange, and they don't act normal, and they don't act they know fucking everything. They do sometimes, but they also are just very blatantly idiots. And they did a really good job of that in the show.
The arguments that the girls get into and their growth as characters and their growth as a group of friends was also ridiculously realistic. One saying, I just don't want to be trouble, and they're saying, screw you, you are my trouble, we're gonna get through. It's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, just that instant glue of all of them sticking together because they have this this fucking dilemma that they're trying to solve of basically they're all we are all so far down this fucking rabbit hole that we are not going to let anybody fuck this
stuck
up
together.
Yeah. So we're not going to let any one of us, any one of our insecurities or anything, we're going to be so supportive that more out of necessity than anything at first, and then obviously because they love each other. But it was just incredibly amazing show. I think ultimately it didn't hit me as hard as a lot of other people. I think it's one of those shows where for me I think I have much more recognition of that it is an incredibly important show, and it is incredibly well done, and it is a 10 out of 10 just by way of it being a perfect thing that it sets out to do.
We talk so much on this podcast about execution and what makes anime good, even with a bad idea. I'm struggling to think of another anime that was executed this well aside from Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah. Just in terms of setting out its goals in the first episode and then following through on every single one of them and expounding. And
even having said that, I don't know if it was the most entertaining or my favorite last season. Just
exactly.
I wanted to bring it up first, and don't get me wrong, it had a huge effect on me, and I loved every episode, and I look forward to it every week. But I just wanted to bring up how immaculate the production was.
I think a lot of people took this show a lot more personally than I did. I did not find a whole lot of personal resonance in this show simply because I was never a high school girl.
I never went to Antarctica.
Yeah, I never went to Antarctica. I mean, it's more basic than that, but I just I think
sometimes you don't relate. You can empathize and sympathize without relating.
Yeah, it is not the type of show that I usually relate to.
Yeah,
and that is a perfect transition into the type of show that I do relate to, which was After the Rain.
I need to go back and finish that because
Yeah.
I didn't.
It is-
It's hard for me to remember to go to Amazon. Nothing against the show. I loved what I watched. I just forget to go to Amazon.
It is the biggest point against that show is that unfortunately it was licensed on Amazon, which means that almost nobody watched it. But if you go through Twitter and you go through that tag, the people that did watch it, it probably was their favorite show of the season, as it was mine, because it is I think in many ways it is a masterpiece of both direction and art direction, or art direction. Let's just say that. It has one of the most perfectly concentrated retro aesthetics I've ever seen in an anime. It knows exactly what it's doing with color. It knows exactly what it's doing with its very stylized character designs. But beyond that, it has some of the most interesting character dynamics maybe I've ever seen in an anime. Mostly because usually when you see a description of a show that's an anime, that's 17-year-old girl falls in love with her 46-year-old boss, you're not really expecting that to be handled well.
No,
and I'm here to tell you
opposite.
guys, if there's a way to handle this story well, After the Rain is the one that did it. Because it has some of the most remarkable development of a relationship in the sense that it goes from a very, I think, selfish and depressed high school girl falling in love with a very depressed 46-year-old man who has given up on his dreams. And through this very unlikely relationship and through them both trying to make it work to where they both want something out of it that they know they can't have, and that makes the relationship evolve past. And it's not like they both want to fuck each other. That's not the nature of
pretty much a non-issue in the show.
Yeah, it's not the nature of the relationship. Like she just wants him without really ever thinking about what the consequences of actually dating a person who's old enough to be her dad are. He wants a window into his youth that he knows is long gone, and doesn't know how to make amends with that, because he's a literature buff, and then you realize he's a literature buff because he used to be a novelist and a writer and like went to a literature university and like was like really big into it and like had a very promising career, and then just something happened that it just life it just didn't pan out. And he eventually at some point gave up on it, just as much as, she ran track and was the fastest person on track and then got injured and got depressed and never went back to it. Yeah. And through the evolution of their relationship, it turns from a romantic one to like a supportive, unlikely friendship, to where they both kind of almost unintentionally support each other to the point where like he starts writing again, and she, at the end of the series, spoilers, basically is like, I'm going back to running. And there is like the most insanely cathartic scene I've ever fucking seen, where it's this really big theme of people leaving stuff at the restaurant, and since she can run super fast, she's the one that's tasked with like chasing them down and giving it to them. So like in the first episode, someone leaves their phone or something, a credit card or something at the restaurant, and she fucking like the way that scene is directed is insane, because like her boss is staring and he's just like, holy shit, she's fast. But then she like injures herself because she's still recovering from her like surgery, because I think she like blew out her Achilles tendon.
Yeah, it was something with her
something
foot,
like that. And then the last episode, he is going to take like a test at corporate to basically like make sure that he knows the new menu, and he like forgets his cheat sheet. So she she looks at him, and he's far enough away to where she's like, I could run, but she just walks over, hands him the cheat sheet, and they have like kind of an awkward thing, and they're both at the point now where they're like getting back into their respective things, and they're like almost like angry at each other, making sure that they like are
That's cute.
Like keeping up with, like, because basically like, yeah, her trying to get into literature to know him better has inspired him to get back into literature, and like him realizing that that's what's happening, and seeing her be depressed about not being able to run. And like, there's at one point where her friend actually comes into the restaurant and is like, you need to start running again. Like, basically like runs out of there crying because she's so frustrated with her. And, so they kind of just look at each other, and she walks like 10 feet away and then just immediately turns around and sprints and like just kind of rams into him. And that's like one of the last scenes in the episode. And it like is one of those scenes where like the environment turns from like, oh, this is like where we are, to just like the like freshly rained on water with the clouds. And it's just like, holy shit. I also want to say that it is probably the best looking Wit Studio show I've ever seen.
It like as far as a cohesive, like visual theme, that show,
but also just in terms of character animation and the solidity of the effects, especially.
At least where I got to, I was only like 4 or 5 episodes and I hadn't seen anything special yet.
Doesn't ever drop off. Like, it's just very consistently good looking in a way that even Wit Studio usually does not deliver on. Because, you know, Wit Studio is known for being solid, but they're not necessarily known for being like stylistically apparent. Yeah. This show is a masterpiece of both cinematography and like just design. Like, the character designs are so good. They're animated so nicely. Everything is just very measured and slow. It's exactly the type of thing that I like. So, and then also, I don't want to move on without acknowledging how fucking good Eurocamp was. Like, I know.
Yeah, no, that was my next one too.
Yeah, I know it's like kind of almost a given because like it was just universally loved. But
if you don't like that show, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Get off my profile. Like, I don't want to talk to you.
Me.
But Eurocamp, I think until seeing the finale of After the Rain, was actually my favorite show this season. Yeah. And like, I can't remember the last time a slice of life show was my favorite show in a season.
It's magic when that happens.
Holy shit, Eurocamp was the best slice of life show I've ever seen.
When a good slice of life in Iyashikei, it's been a while since I explained that term on the show, but Iyashikei literally just means good feeling, like healing almost.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, exactly. Is that not the term?
No, I'm just that first hit of bourbon.
Yeah,
got me for a little bit.
Nah, it's
it is though.
As far as Iyashikei, like, it's one of those things where no matter what mood you're in, you can sit down, you can turn it on, you feel warm, your heart rate slows down, all is right.
But it was also rare where, you know, I usually get in a rut with slice of life shows where they have a few fucking boring episodes in the middle, frankly. Eurocamp, I was always excited to watch. I would go out of my way to watch Eurocamp. Yeah. And that is, for a slice of life show, that is a mark of quality.
Because you get addicted. You need it. You need that weekly pick-me-up.
If this show does not get like 8 more seasons, I'm going to burn down Japan.
It's the best showing sell this season by like a factor of 10.
It's not surprising at all, considering it was amazing.
Yeah, this is a show that's ridiculously easy to pick up for another season, especially given the last episode and the time skip.
It's also ridiculously easy to sell merchandise. Can you imagine the shit that's the
I was in Japan. I already saw some.
Yeah, it's
can
I get some can we get like a Coleman branded Eurocamp merchandise?
I just want some fucking scarves.
Yeah, some scarves, some beanies. I want like a fucking tent.
Some talking pine cones.
I want a tent that just looks like Shimarine's head with the bean on top. I just want that. Just give me like the equipment that they show in the show. Just give me that. Give me like a kit.
They would, except it's sold out everywhere because it's all real equipment. There's this funny phenomenon with Japanese things where, especially with Moe shows, if somebody's using a real object, it's gonna sell out.
Yeah, no, it was easily one of the best. Probably, honestly, I haven't seen as much anywhere near as much anime for you, but is definitely the best slice of life show I've ever seen.
Watch K-On!
Is it a slice of life show?
Oh yeah, Count is definitely a slice of life.
Is that like a music thing? Isn't there
a slice of life?
I guess that's true.
Slice of life just doesn't have a real conflict.
True. Yeah, Eurocamp was really fucking good, and I also just want to. I don't have a whole lot to say about it production wise, other than the music was easily the best part about the show.
Okay, about the music, have you listened to the soundtrack?
No.
The first track of the soundtrack is it's the sound of a lighter and then kindling catching fire.
That's fucking.
Is that not the greatest goddamn thing you've ever heard?
I kind of want to just import that soundtrack just to.
I did. It's on the way. After I heard that, I pirated it, and I heard that, and I'm just like, they know exactly what they're doing. I need to buy this. All right.
Yeah, I just I love how Celtic it is. There's a lot of like traditional Celtic instruments being used. You know, there's like. It's if this show was made in America, the music would all be bluegrass. Like, and I kind of hope that's like the next logical step. Like, if they make a season 2, if it's all just like Appalachian music, like if they just switch me up some folk music every season. Because I'm basically just assuming that the show is going to get a second season now. Like, it fucking needs to.
I would be so surprised if it didn't.
Yeah, it fucking needs to.
We were talking about A Place Farther Than the Universe earlier. Like, that one, like, they could do it if they wanted to.
They don't need to, though.
They don't need to. Eurocamp needs one.
They needs, like I said.
Listen, okay, maybe Eurocamp doesn't need one. I need Eurocamp to have another.
Yeah, no. Eurocamp needs, like, 10 more seasons because this show has unlimited fucking potential.
Yeah.
You could follow these girls... Like, literally until the point where they jokingly showed in the last episode of them all grown up. Like, I was so fucking excited because I was just like, oh, God, is this actually real?
Time skip was great.
Yeah. Irene, super tall, riding a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Nadeshiko in her fucking rocket ship tent.
God, amazing.
Yeah, give me all that. And what's her name being an alcoholic? Like, I knew she was going to be. Like,
oh, yeah. That was a given. I mean, she started working at a liquor store when she was like 15. Shit.
Yeah. No, it definitely needs more. But just from what we have right now,
what a great fucking anime.
What a wonderful show. Yeah, I really can't think of a slice of life show that I've seen so far that I've liked more than that, just in terms of like being excited to watch it week to week. Like, it was, slice of life is not exactly the most exciting anime, but like I was just super fucking excited.
It's definitely near the peak of its genre.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think many people could argue against that. I have a question for you.
Yes.
Different show. Did you keep it with Grand Crest?
Fuck yeah, I did.
Okay, cool,
Love
good,
that
because
show.
it's still going. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yo, let's talk about
it's been doing really well.
Let's talk about the first season ending.
Yeah.
Man, that was so. I don't like using this word, but that was epic.
Is the first season ending that we're talking about the death of the Duke of Alturk?
Yes.
Yes, that was epic as shit.
That was really that, like his last battle. His I don't even know what to call her.
His mage.
Yeah, his mage. Yeah. Well, he had several, but the fire
his
one.
Mage, like she was his actual mage.
The way she went out was just so
incredible.
Cool. Everybody in that show, like when they go out nobly, it's the greatest.
This show has done so much for following through with relationships that would be taken to a very blue balls place in many other shows of this type.
I was so glad that Villar, the Duke of Alturk?
Yeah, Villar.
I was so glad that he got with her in the end.
Yeah.
I was kind of worried she was going to double cross him because she's from the other Duke's place.
Yeah.
I'm glad it didn't go that way.
Yeah, she's from like Alliance territory. But like, yeah, it's... And what a poetic end to that relationship too, because obviously, beautiful. He's established these boundaries to where like, there's no way that they can be together. Like he literally has an age out system for the mages that serve under him because
it's to make them happy so they can go live their own life.
But the show does such a good job with showing how fluid morals can be. And, cause it seems again, like a fucking year ago when this happened, but like in one of the first episodes where they actually get into the Duke of Alturk, the reason why he can never take a woman as his own is because they would never be able to measure up to his mother.
Yeah.
Which makes him seem super fucked up. Like just
he was fucked up.
But just his whole character arc of being initially portrayed as, I think it was the lustful Duke, I think was his nickname. And then you find out he's actually one of the most like upstanding, like probably the most upstanding Duke in that level of power in the Union.
Definitely with that, but I'm still uncomfortable with the way he treats women.
Yeah, but it's at least like true.
Different uncomfortable I'm not trying to the lustful Duke.
Like he's not keeping women around to fuck them. Basically.
I'm glad that wasn't it, but it was so weird.
It was weird, but at least there was a measure of eccentric purity to it. I think that
he didn't
initially I was not expecting, but I like that he literally had to admit to himself, like, look, I love you and I've always loved you, and there's no way that we could have been a thing, but now that we're both about to die, like,
fuck it, let's go.
Let's get it on, baby. Like, let's go on a literal blaze of glory.
How about the leader from the north with the reverse harem?
Holy shit.
Woo, boy.
Yeah,
I was all about her. And she had the coolest like navy too.
She's
they had a floating castle.
Full on Daenerys Targaryen.
Oh yeah, no,
like,
I was feeling the same thing.
She's
yeah,
a lot more lustful and over the top than Daenerys is, but
Yes.
she basically is her. Like,
Yeah,
she's got a harem.
in terms of her reverse harem.
She
and
likes
how she
to
controls
fuck.
her men.
She likes to fuck pretty boys.
That was pretty dope.
She likes to fuck.
There's a
those
lot of
boys.
really cool characters, and as far as how the second season started, I am so ready for this character arc.
Yeah.
Like this is this is what we heard in the first episode. This was the main goal, and they're just fucking going for it.
The last episode was one of the most simultaneously cathartic and devastating things I've ever seen.
I just wish that it wasn't so obvious what was going to happen.
I mean, obviously, but
yeah.
it's like kind of like it has to happen that way. Like it's for it to happen any other way, kind of wouldn't really make sense at this point. But it's like, yeah, it is the most predictable thing that could have possibly happened. But that doesn't mean it wasn't enjoyable to see Teo just absolutely murder the shit out of that incredibly smug motherfucker. But yeah.
I'm looking forward to all the other Sistina,
yeah.
I'm looking forward to. Here's how much I like the show. I'm remembering names.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to seeing every single one of the Sistina family die like that.
Oh no. Rossini. Sistina is the island's name.
That's right.
From.
Okay. Yeah. The Rossini family.
Yeah, but so I liked that arc. I'm super excited to see what like the actual uprising looks like. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they did it like in the first 10 minutes of the next episode, just like, and then the family, the villages of Sistina rose up and Teo became their new whatever. I mean, it's like so obvious at this point what's going to happen, unless they're going to just completely zag on us in the next episode, which I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. I want to see more of the werewolf twins.
The werewolf twins.
That's my personal
twins,
love.
The vampire king and
the priest,
the dark mage.
Well, I want to see more of the priestess. That's in his like,
yeah, that's
company.
what I meant. Yeah. Dark mage priestess.
Yeah. One's healing magic and one's a dark mage. Totally the same. No, I'm messing with you.
Yeah.
But now they're like that's my one downside is it's one of those shows where, and I know this is to sell it, but it's one of those shows where they're giving you the top level and it's vastly entertaining because you're hitting those main points, but there's a lot more going on. And if it was a 50 episode show, we could explore that. Yeah. But
it's just like, when the fuck are you ever going to make a 50 episode show more. Nowadays, with this level of production?
Alicization might be.
Crossing our fingers for that one. We talked about that on the last episode, but yeah, crossing our fingers for that one. But yeah, Grand Crest War is easily the most underrated show airing.
Yeah,
right
nobody's
now.
really talking about it.
Nobody's really talking about it.
I'm surprised you got into it because it's really one of those where if you like fantasy, you like fantasy. If you like the kind of just like a political game on top of the cool battles.
Weirdest thing ever is two of the shows that I enjoyed the most last season, outside of the ones that everybody liked, were Overlord and Grand Crest War.
Overlord because I did catch up on Overlord.
Dude, Overlord is easily the most unique like medieval fantasy anime I've ever seen.
Overlord, I don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the season, but I still get kind of upset because I feel like they're spread too thin. While I really, really enjoy the storylines that they're chasing, especially like Brain Unglaus and like the human empire and all that, I feel like it's really spread too thin. Just give me more Momonga kicking ass.
Yes, but I think the biggest revelation to me is that fucking Shaltir is the princess.
Yeah.
What the did you notice that?
Yeah,
What the fuck?
It
I did not notice it until she showed up in the mask, because literally all she's doing is making a face. Anybody can be Yandere and hide it. Like, I didn't really know what was happening. But yeah, like, that's what they have Shaltir doing. What the fuck?
There's a lot of shit going on. There's that. And
there's a lot of intrigue happening. But honestly, my favorite thing about that show is just, it is basically the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure of medieval fantasy shows.
Yeah.
Like, it is just so stupid and weird.
This is awful of me. But God, I think one of my favorite parts of the show was little vampire girl, Evil Eye, I think.
Yeah,
just the way she's like,
yeah.
Just the way she's like so cool and like such a badass.
God,
and as soon as Momonga appears, just instant dare every time. I love it. It cracks me.
Yeah, she's so cute.
God, it kills me every time. I love it. I'm glad that we got to see her face at the end.
Well, and she got the Moe Fang, man.
Yeah,
she's too powerful.
Yeah,
no wonder she's such a powerful wizard. She's charmed everybody.
I loved Naze talking to Momonga about it. She's like, "Are you sure it's not something else?"
Yeah.
She's like, "No. He continues to be the best part."
I like the big butch girl, whatever her name is. She's fucking great because all she keeps doing is just like, "Yeah, you want me to fuck you. Like
I'm allergic. Yeah. That's really funny.
Her dynamic with Brain was one of her little exchange.
Oh god, that was okay. It's weird, but what that reminded
super
me of,
frank of her just being like, "Oh, Brain Unglas, you're strong. I bet I could fuck you," and him just being like, yeah, well, I bet you could, but you'd probably kill me. And she's just like, fair enough, and walks off. I was like, what the fuck is this?
What's
show?
really weird for some
So
reason,
good.
what that reminded me of the most was like the discussion between Kings and Fate Zero.
Oh my god!
This meeting of high level people. I don't know why it reminded me
Oh
of
my
that because it's not
God.
like that, but that's where my mind went.
No, it's true. Like I could see it. I mean, there's a lot less crying in the Overlord version, but yeah.
Yeah.
God, that was so fucking funny though.
Overlord continues to be a lot of fun.
It's
and
just a great, weird
I do have
thing.
a lot of issues with it, and I have no idea where they're going, and I feel like it's dragging a little.
All of
but
my
I'm
issues
enjoying
with
the
it
ride.
are just completely gone when I remember that, like, it was never trying to be this lofty political intrigue show. It is literally just an isekai comedy dressed up with like really good action.
No, it is. Yeah.
Like it's just that's what it is.
I guess that we didn't get, as far as action is concerned, like one of the highlights of the first episode was Momoga like cracking the back of that assassin. It's
Yeah.
just like we didn't get anything like that. The closest thing we got
No.
was just
I mean,
the
this season
absolute
was almost all-
destruction of the lizard people by Cocutus. That was like
Yeah.
the closest we got to something like that.
It was, and that was a great battle, but it was, you know, it was much more Game of Thronesy this time around. There's a lot more intrigue happening, which I like.
It was a shitload of world building.
Yeah, definitely.
And where it left off.
Still don't necessarily understand the purpose of the Lizardmen arc, other than to show what Momonga's
that's okay
plans
because
are.
we're getting another season in July.
Yeah, exactly. The fastest I've ever seen a season 3 announced for anything.
They were building them together, and it's
Yeah.
it's split core at that point.
Well, I'm super excited to see more of that.
Yeah,
show,
I
'cause
won't
it's
be upset at more
super
Overlord
fun.
ever. Like I mean, on an earlier episode we talked about, I wasn't that warm on it when it began, and I warmed up to it.
I mean, it gets to a point where you realize that it is not the show that it was presenting itself as in like probably the first 6 episodes of the first season. You realize, oh, this is a comedy show first and foremost, because literally the first episode of the second season is what's her name? Fucking Albedo with a nude Momonga skeleton
I actually
documakura.
forgot about that, and that showed up in the last episode.
Every subsequent scene is her with more official Momonga merchandise around her, which is fucking hilarious.
She really didn't get a lot of time this season. I'm a little bummed about that.
She had one scene that kind of terrified me a little bit, because it is I can't remember, but he is basically radioing her to ask her to do something, and she does not fucking understand why. And as soon as he hangs up, she kind of like rolls her eyes and is just like, what the hell is he talking about? Or something like that. And I was just like, oh shit, like they're starting to like actually become like somewhat
people,
independent beings, and that like scares the shit out of me, because like I
They're
think
really strong to be independent.
Yeah,
and
well,
Demiurge kind of showed that too, because Momonga had no idea what he was doing.
But I think that's the difference between the two of them, though. Is I feel like Demiurge has been built from the start to be an independent character by his creators.
I feel like if anybody's going to wind up an antagonist, it's probably him.
Yeah. I mean, he literally kind of was. It was set up, but I mean, still, like, he filled that role very naturally.
I say that, but at the same time, the whole thing when Momonga gave him the idol towards the end, probably not. I don't know.
Yeah,
it'd be really cool if they twisted it and Albedo wound up being that one.
Yeah, I mean, like they're definitely showing these little hints at his subordinates being probably more independent than he would probably like. I mean, like the whole thing with Sebas just kind of like doing his own thing. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see how it plays out.
Really enjoyed the scene in the room when Momonga was like interrogating Sebas. Said, "Well, kill her then." I was sweating a bit.
Yeah, because he would probably do it.
No, he did.
He did. You're right.
He did.
Right.
Cocutus stopped him. Yeah. That was solid.
Cocutus, surprisingly good character.
Right?
Did not pin Cocutus for being one of my favorites.
Ice bug man.
With like the most defined sense of honor than anyone.
He's
like
really
how honorably he fought the lizard people and like how much he respected them as warriors. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah,
like,
and he like lobbied for them to not get slaughtered.
And he also was just like at the end there kind of just being like, sorry, like I got to do this.
Yeah. It was,
like you're too honorable for me to kill in a dishonorable
every character
way.
kind of has their points like that.
Yeah.
Like Demir's is kind of weird, but I loved him playing Yaldabaoth, which is such a D&D name.
It is. This season was kind of defined by characters that you would never think getting fleshed out.
Yeah, Demir's had so much time.
Demir's
he kind of like replaced Albedo a bit.
Yeah,
at least in terms of.
Oh, you're right.
Time.
Albedo had almost no screen time, but also because like they almost never showed Nazarick or anyone involved with it.
Yeah, I do really, really like where they left off for the third season, where we finally kind of have a proper. I don't even want to say antagonist, but a proper other entity that's wondering about things, and they set it up to realize that Einzulgaun and Momonga are the same person.
Yeah.
Which is in somebody who has not equal level but similar level of magic. It's going
to be interesting.
I feel like shit's going to hit the fan pretty quick.
Because that's always the thing that this show has been missing is someone who is an actual equal.
We don't have an antagonist. Yeah, no, he's super overpowered.
Yeah,
which is interesting because he's been kind of like gearing up and ready to protect himself from maybe another player.
Yeah,
which would be interesting if that's what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, he's clearly been spending the entire second season like doing shit, like doing dastardly
the whole
plans.
Thing I guess was kind of about trying to locate the item that may Sheltier turn.
Yeah,
that's so true. Far that's the only thing that's actually given him trouble.
Yep, should be interesting. Shall we move on to this season, or is there anything else you would like to discuss? I don't think there's anything else I want to talk about. There was kind of three big shows last season that I wanted to talk about: Eurocamp, After the Rain, and Yorimoy, and that was it.
I mean, that was the big ones. As much as I like the season, there wasn't a lot that affected me.
Katana Maidens is still good.
Yeah,
and Katana Maidens has gone in a place that I did not think
I didn't
was
see the
newest
episode.
Do you care if I spoil it?
Go ahead. Because hang on. Before you say that, like I was confused because I knew it was two chords going into it, but that was a solid ending for the first half. Tell me what happens in the second half.
They're starting a new arc.
Well, clearly, but what's it about?
So Princess Tagitsu has been like defeated, scattered to the Netherworld, and in doing so, they have unleashed basically like a constant barrage of Aradama on Japan.
Control. Okay,
and so they are working on gathering the Noro, and basically everyone at the academy, basically everyone involved in the incident that was on the good side, is now spread out across the country working as like basically official Miko or official Toji, I guess.
I think
and what's her name? Long hair, one of the two main girls that's not the Genki girl. Like retired and became an actual Miko.
Oh.
And then her president is like, we kind of need you back. And then she shows up at the end and she's just like, exactly what I did at the beginning of this episode. We're back, bitches.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I think I haven't played the game, but it would make sense because this whole thing was gearing up for the game to come out. And in fact, the game came out around the time that the last episode aired. I wouldn't be surprised if the first core was a prequel.
Yeah,
and then the second core of the show is where the game picks up.
Yeah, because I mean the thing that I always wanted to see...
This was made to sell the game.
Yeah, and the thing I always wanted to see from the series is them actually doing what Toji actually do, which is fight Aradama.
Yeah, we got a hint of that in the first episode.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like the first arc was cool as shit, but like the other thing is I'm very excited to see where they take some of the more intrigue based stuff, because now they are setting up all this stuff with the government is kind of like persecuting Akari, the sister of Yukari,
sure.
or Akane. Akane is their name. Yeah, she's like in front of like a tribunal in this episode, like giving testimony, which is really interesting. So that'll be an interesting thing to see what they do. But yeah, I'm just excited to see them.
It's a fun show. It's a cool action show. Some girls kicking ass.
New opening, starting a new arc, and everything. It's straight up traditional 26 episode format.
Two things real quick before we move on to the fresh season.
Ryo
no Oshigoro, I talked about it in our, I wouldn't say preview episode, but our episode where we first started, and I said, it was a solid sports anime. Continued that. If you like sports anime, and especially if you like alternative ones, that like if you're a fan of Chihaya Furu, give it a shot. it was good. It was like really unique. The characters were fleshed out well. There's some interesting interpersonal relationships that was good. And then Killing Bites. We never even mentioned this on the show.
Did you watch that?
I did, because the first episode was meh, and I felt like it was a strong season. And then Abra, a good friend of mine, was like, no, this is awesome. Watch it. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot.
All right.
I wound up really liking it. It's not thought-provoking.
No.
It's far from thought-provoking.
That's not surprising.
But it was very dumb fun. It was super interesting because the whole thing is like a giant tournament arc for the for at least like the last 2/3 of it, just a tournament arc, and it was really fun to like just see the battles. And for those of you who don't know, Killing Bites, basically the characters in it are like they're humans that are somehow imbued with like animal genes, and they fight in a tournament.
Animorphs.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it's the Japanese Zaibatsu, the big corporations that exist before World War II. Yeah, they duke it out through this.
So this is like, Tekken, basically, is what you're saying.
Yes. No, it's
Heihachi Mishima is in this anime.
It's very, very similar to that. So you got kind of this like political, socioeconomic like battle going on, like with these characters as a proxy that all take after animals, and some of them are super obvious, like the bunny runs fast and is a scaredy cat. And stuff like that. And like the cheetah is even faster. And
so
the
this
lion's
is
a
better
badass.
than Zodiac War or whatever it was called.
Yes, this is.
Thank God.
I enjoyed it a lot more than Junie Tyson,
Good.
and it was a whole hell of a lot pretentious. This show knew exactly what it was. It was tits. It was fighting. It was bloody. It was, it was kind of almost a callback to like early '90s, late '80s.
But it was not a titty fighting anime.
No, it was.
Okay.
It was.
It was a titty fighting anime.
It was definitely a titty fighting anime.
Well, no wonder Abra was
always down
with
with. Yeah, love you, Abra, but yeah, it was a titty fighting anime.
Abra, the only person I've ever known to finish Valkyrie Drive Mermaid. So shout out to Abra.
Yeah, it was super.
We love you, Abra.
Though, one of the things I
have like actual respect for someone that can finish Valkyrie Drive Mermaid.
She's all about
See
it.
the giant 40-foot tall woman with like human-sized nipple with like a full close-up shot.
Yeah,
that's great. I remember we were at AFO when that was happening, and you literally just pulled out your phone in a panel and put it over to me and showed it to me without context, and I just saw a person framed against the background that it was just a nipple, like a giant nipple.
Backing up, because she will literally never listen to this episode, as close to friends as we are. We met Abra over about a year and a half ago at a Holiday Matsuri, and we were doing our Americans panel, and she was there because we mentioned Strike Witches. Right. And she loved that, and then we wound up hanging out because she was doing a fan service panel, and we were doing the hentai terminology panel. Yeah. We hit it off from there. So,
yeah, they were great at our hentai panel. They were like right in the front row. They were loving it.
They were giving us a lot of energy.
I'm super fucking excited to do that panel again at some point. Hey, yeah, we're gonna do a bonus podcast of that eventually. Of that panel. We'll get to it.
Look for it on Pornhub.
No. I mean, like an audio version. We're gonna do it like if y'all
look for the video version.
If y'all have been listening to us long enough, we used to do audio encyclopedias, which I do miss doing, but it doesn't really make. Yeah, we're bringing out. Oh, it's Crown Royal Bourbon Mash.
I told you that. Yeah.
Shit, I didn't know that. I thought it was just regular
tasty.
Crown.
Yeah, that's the first time I heard that. Yeah.
But we used to do audio encyclopedias, and I do want to get back into something like that a little bit, mostly because I feel like it's actually a pretty popular format for podcasts.
People really
nowadays.
like it because they're timeless.
They are timeless, but also, it's a hell of a lot easier to do than a video. But B, it is a really popular podcast format nowadays. Like the audio, I don't want to call it just audio encyclopedia, but like the pure information dump start to finish podcast is like, and reading off a script, super popular nowadays. Yeah. Like last podcast, like any true crime podcast that you listen to is going to be one of those. But basically the point is we are going to be doing a hentai terminology, like an expanded hentai terminology podcast at some point, hopefully in the future.
We're quite knowledgeable about this. No, I have scanlated hentai in the past, and I know an unfortunate amount about the etymology of all these words. And honestly, it's some super interesting stuff.
It is very interesting.
We go to interesting places with it.
Yeah, that's I think the biggest goal. Not to get off on too crazy of a tangent, but like the biggest goal that we always set out with the panel, and I think also with this podcast, is to keep it about as like obviously keep it fun, because like talking about sex and not joking around is dumb, because sex is a fun thing in itself. And it's a funny thing to discuss. But what we always wanted to do with this was to keep it about as academic as possible, because like, you know, I'm sure everybody listening who has been to a convention has been to a hentai panel at a convention, and they're almost always run by like creepy dudes that know very little about the source material and are just showing like Bible Black clips and just being like, look at this puss.
They're
like,
probably getting off on showing porn in a public setting.
Yeah, basically. Like, and we don't like that, because we also know that like how big of a barrier we're coming up against of like, hey, look at us, two bearded white dudes hosting a hentai panel at a local Florida convention. Like how, like I literally remember I was at dinner with a bunch of people once before playing Kira Kira Pop, and I kind of let slip that we do a hentai panel.
Yeah. And
before I even was able to clarify what I meant by that, everyone at the table cringed, and I like visibly, and I was just like, oh, I now have to dig myself out of this fucking hole.
It's a fun, informative panel.
We'll get, maybe that should just be the next thing we do.
I'm down.
Yeah. It's not,
I could use a refresher.
Well, that's the other thing, is that we need to like actually sit down and rework this panel before. So that actually,
now that we're planning live.
Yeah. Now that, I mean, but this is interesting to people, because this is something that people have actually been asking us about for
it's one of our few real requests.
Yeah, because it's just kind of not really feasible to put it up video wise. Like we could not put this up on YouTube, but what we could do is we could do a longer version of the panel audio and then put together a guide on our website, because our website isn't censored.
Yeah, that's very true. And on top of that, if we really wanted to do a video, we have a PowerPoint. We could just match the slides to what we're talking about.
But why the fuck do that when we could do an expanded version, and then you can along.
Google the terms as we say them.
Well, you don't even have to, because we'll put together a guide on the website with images. Yeah. Because trust me, this is a very visual thing.
It's a very well researched thing.
And we have a lot of good art in it.
On top of that, we got official permission from the Faku folks to use their images in our panel.
So we have a lot of polls from Faku, basically illustrating our points. So, but yeah, we're gonna. Next time we do this, we're going to try to put a lot more gay shit in it than what's in it right now. Because there is definitely
I've been reading a lot of BL lately. So.
Yeah, and there's a lot that we could expand on. Obviously, hentai is pretty well dominated by hetero stuff, but there's a lot of gay shit too.
There's no lack of that.
Yeah.
I've learned some new terms since then too.
Totally. So yeah, expect that from us sometime soon. We'll get to it.
Cool. Anime.
Like.
So Killing Bites
SFW
was fun.
anime.
Killing Bites was fun.
Yeah.
Just real quick before I move on from that, one of the most fun things about that show was you aren't told what the animals are that they're representing immediately, and some of them are weird. Like one of the strongest characters, spoiler, is a fucking pangolin. And you're sitting there for 3 episodes trying to figure out what it is, and as soon as it's announced, they do like a short like documentary voiceover about the animal, and it's dumb, but man, I love it.
Before we move on from last season, I just have to give a quick shout out to March Comes In Like a Lion. Has been, it's one of those shows that you almost kind of don't really ever need to talk about, because it's just so fucking good. Like from no matter what they're doing, but the end of this current season was among some of my favorite episodes of anime I've ever watched. There's specifically one episode that is, the most maximum level of comfy I've ever experienced in an anime, and also has a lot of, when I say Akari fan service, I mean the type of fan service that you want from Akari, which is her being a good sister and also being incredibly pretty in a very pure and tasteful way. There's literally a scene in what really was the last episode, was the second last episode, because they also had like an OVA that takes place after the last episode that kind of serves as the actual last episode. But there's a scene where she shows up and she's just like, oh, sorry, I'm late. She's running and she's kind of sweaty, and everyone just like kind of stops what they're doing and just like mouth just hangs open, and like Kiriyama's teacher is there, and he literally, his face is like bright red, and for the next 5 minutes in the scene they kept panning over to him and they're like, Sensei, are you okay? And he's just like just like fucking deadpan, like cannot say a word. So that show is amazing.
No, I've read the entirety of the manga. Massive spoilers. Where did it end relationship wise? I mean, I can tell you where it ended
timeline wise.
Yeah. Where in the timeline are everybody's relationships?
Well, the baseball player kid he's basically gone. Like the last episode is like them making manja before he leaves.
Okay.
And so that's like basically the last event. There's also I don't know if this was just adapting extra chapters or whatever, but there's also a scene where Kiriyama visits his foster mother. That's the first half of the episode, and then the second half of the episode is him and Hinata and the baseball boy going to like eat lunch basically one time before he moves away, and her having to like confront the very real possibility of like never seeing him again or something like that.
So the manga actually goes a lot farther than the anime. Then I thought they were going to try to adapt the whole thing.
Well, I mean, there's probably going to be another season.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure. I haven't watched this since like episode 4.
I would not be surprised if there was another season.
Given what you've just told me, expect another season because there's a lot more.
If this show managed to get a second season, then it will get a third season. I would not be surprised. I don't know how long it's going to take for them to announce it, but I would not be surprised if it was this year that they announced it. So, because it definitely left off in a place that is not a real ending. So
yeah, I will probably get more.
All right, let's quickly go through the next season. I don't want to get too in depth here because we're just not really that far into it.
Real quick, one piece of news before we leap into this new season.
One Piece?
Yes, one piece of news.
Wampy?
One P. Well, what did you call it? Egg something?
Oh, Nepeg.
Nepeg, yeah.
Guys, look at the One Piece logo, find the black and white variant, and tell me it doesn't, just at first glance, tell me it doesn't look like it says Nepeg.
Okay, but while we've been recording Mario Okada's film that I ranted and raved about, Sayo Asa got announced for a July 20th U.S. theatrical release. Fucking watch it. Make plans
that's
now.
Quick.
Yeah, that's very quick. Within half a year.
Yeah, good. I'm excited to see it.
I'm ready to fucking cry again. Fuck me up.
There are like 3 or 4 big, good movie releases. Like all the shit that 4Kids is releasing this summer, and that, and the fucking Bungo Stray Dogs movie is coming to theaters in May.
We're getting some good shit.
Yeah, man.
I am so ready to talk about Sayo Asa with people. Fuck.
It's gonna be great.
It's been eating me up.
Yeah,
I've been listening to the soundtrack like often.
All right, let's talk about next season.
It's pretty alright. I mean, I guess. Here's the thing. I'm reserving all my judgment until Steins Gate airs in about 15 hours.
Shit, I didn't know that hadn't aired yet.
Yeah, no, that's the last big one.
Yeah. What's Full Metal Panic is aired already, right?
I have not seen it if it has. How about this? Okay, Anichart is ranked by popularity.
Yes.
So let's scroll to the bottom of Anichart and work our way up.
Sounds good. We don't really need to cover... I mean, do we need to talk about Darling in the Franxx? I will say this about Darling in the Franxx. I was starting at
the bottom, working up. Where do you see Darfa?
It's still airing,
leftovers.
Right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
The last episode was really strong.
Darling in the Franxx is getting good. Finally.
It's that halfway point.
It's taken them 10 episodes, but it's finally getting to the point where character drama actually interests me in this thing. But also, the last episode was just a legit good episode.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah. It made me feel things.
Yeah. All right, so Duel Masters. Let's hear your thoughts.
Duel Masters.
Future Card Buddy Fight X All-Star Fight. Or Puzzle and Dragon. Not Puzzle and Dragons. Puzzle and Dragon.
That's a great video game, not a great anime.
What about To Be Heroing?
You skipped. Look what you skipped. You know exactly what you did.
Oh, well, I was just kind of counting off these bottom 9.
The one he skipped is the Prepar replacement.
Kirato Pre-chan.
I'm really sad about Prepar ending, and I'm not the only one.
Do you not want to talk about Beyblade Burst Shozetsu?
No, I haven't seen it. My bad.
Can't believe you haven't seen the Beyblade.
Will pick
I can't believe you haven't seen the new Beyblade series in 2018.
Is that licensed for
Can you imagine a hotter property?
It's literally at the bottom of the
popularity. Let her rip. Do they still let her rip?
I'm sure they do.
If they don't let her rip, I'm gonna be really
I'll watch that as
mad.
soon as I finish watching 5Ds.
Can't wait for the sequel.
Okay, that was a bad joke.
Can't wait for the sequel 6Ds.
From what I understand, 5Ds was actually really good.
I've seen a lot of people on Twitter today talking up newer Yu-Gi-Oh series.
From my understanding, they're good.
I don't want to hear about it.
I
don't want there to be more anime that I need to watch.
I'm going to give you an anime platitude, which you have yet to realize, but eventually you will come to understand that the only good anime is kids anime.
Wow.
You'll get there.
Hey, I'm watching Gundam Build Divers.
Which is a kid's
I got
anime.
my one.
Listen, that's a kid's anime. It's fucking good,
You
ain't
know
it?
how much I liked Build Fighters Try.
Also a kid's anime.
Yeah, I know. I loved it.
Kids anime
Great.
is good.
And you know how much of a Tribe Cool Crew apologist I am?
Yeah.
You know how much I love the Bakwan machine guns?
Okay, but honestly, working up from the bottom, to near the bottom are Kirata Pre-chan and Aikatsu Friends. If you read our season preview,
Yes.
I actually put those together because they're the children's idol anime, and they're both going through refreshes. Kirata Pre-chan is a much larger refresh where it's not even in the same universe anymore. It's almost like a YouTuber type thing. The first episode didn't show me much because it's going to be like a 2-year long show, but the character designs remind me a lot of Tokyo Seven Sisters. The characters are likable.
Good.
I'm there. Aikatsu Friends, on the other hand, had and this pains me to say because I'm always a Prepar fan over Aikatsu, but Aikatsu Friends' first episode was really good. You might want to watch it, if nothing else other than for the music. They went like full glitch hop.
I will watch it maybe if... I mean,
It's
nobody ever picks this shit up.
It will never get... it won't get
That's the unfortunate
simulcasted
thing.
because Aikatsu and Prepar make their money primarily through merchandise and secondarily through music. Licensing the music isn't easy here. It's all idle stuff. And merchandise...
I'm sure
the
nobody
last thing
even
a
tries.
kid's show got really licensed was Netflix and Saban with Glitter Force.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
that's because
I forgot about that.
they got the merchandise license too, and there
That was
are in fact
Precure,
yeah
right?
And in fact, there are Glitter Force toys that you can get in the U.S. now.
Precure has, I'm sure, a lot less licensing issues with the music than Aikats and Prepar do.
It's
I'll check out the first episode.
Yeah. You might.
I
be
definitely don't
surprised.
hate most of the Aikats music I've heard so far. So
you shouldn't. It's
Yeah.
good music.
okay, so let's talk about Binan Koko Chikyu Boebu Happy Kiss.
Listen, that's a magical boy show. I tried to like the first season
I've heard
several
some
years
pretty
ago. It
not
wasn't
great things
good.
about
But
it.
let's actually talk about Major Second.
Should we?
Yeah, I watched it. So
okay, how was it?
Major, for those of you who don't know, is honestly one of the most popular baseball things in Japan.
People over here, it has a not
Major-
insignificant following as well.
Major is a big deal. Unfortunately, it happened before I was huge into sports anime, so I haven't seen it. So I'm all in on Major Second.
Also, man, it takes so much to get someone into baseball anime.
Well, Major is unique in that it follows the main two characters. I think it's two characters, but at least the main character from 4th grade juniors through the MLB World Series.
That's fucking great.
Yeah. How cool is that?
I did not know that it tackled the fucking World Series.
The characters
cool.
playing the World Series, and in fact, Major Second is a good place to pick up because it's about the main character Goro's children, not just his son, but about the family because the whole family is all baseball. His wife was a softball pitcher.
That's cool.
His daughter is slightly older than the main character, his son, and is a very skilled middle school baseball / softball player because in Japan they don't split up the girls from the boys until high school, from my understanding.
Right.
So that's really cool, and it's neat because the main character starts out as a painfully average baseball player, and he has to come to terms with everybody in Japan knowing and loving his father. He pitched and won the World Series in the bottom of the 9th.
Yeah.
To being an average 4th grader. He's just
Totally.
like, I'm great. I've been playing baseball since I could hold a ball, and he's normal.
Yeah.
So it was a good first episode. I liked it.
Well, there's also another baseball anime happening this season, one that caught my interest during our preview and I decided to write about, but it is called Gurazeni, which actually means the money under the pitch, or the money under the ground, is the way that they use it in the show. Gura is literally just short for Gurando.
Yeah.
Gurando Zeni, which is literally just the money under the pitcher's mound.
I do love that because
It's
it also makes
fucking
me
amazing.
think Kill I Kill with a Zenny guy.
Yeah, Zeni. And Zeni is the fucking Street Fighter has used Zeni as a currency for the longest time. Zeni is literally just a slang term for money.
It's like saying dough.
Yeah, Dosh.
Dosh.
Loads of money.
I'm the Dosh King.
But Gurazeni is fucking cool. I was not expecting to like it as much as I did, but it approaches baseball. It approaches sports from
Approaches life.
about the furthest away that you can get from traditional sports anime. Sports are for honor and I want to get stronger and all this. Just no,
There's
sports
zero hot
are
blood.
a business. I need to make enough money to make sure that when I can't play baseball anymore, I can fucking live. And like like even in the first episode, it goes into like what the life of a longtime professional, like the guy is literally a left-hand relief pitcher. He only goes in the game in the fucking 4th or 5th inning when the opposite team brings in their left-handed hitters. And yeah, it goes into like what the life of a basically a career baseball player is like, but it also goes into like what happens when you like can't play baseball anymore. Like you maybe become an announcer or you just fucking become destitute. Like that's just like the way it is. And like the main character is literally like notating everything down to the fucking dime. I
love the idea and I really like the main character, but the execution, I felt like he said the same thing countless amounts of time in the first episode, and the animation was bad. I'm not even going to say not great. The animation was bad.
But also it's a sports anime. Like I can't unless you're watching Haikyuu, I would not expect good animation out of it.
That's completely fair, but I know it's something different than a sports anime, and I'm not expecting a sports anime, but like it was just weird. I'm going to give it more episodes, but it just repeated itself so much in the first episode. I'm not sure where else they're going to go.
I just think it's super refreshing for a sports anime.
I do love the main character because he's talk about atypical main character. You know, he's slightly pudgy. He's got like a dirty beard. He's obsessed with money.
Yeah. I would say don't sleep on the show.
Give it a shot.
It definitely has more promise it has more promise for being a sports anime unlike any one that you've ever seen before, for sure, because I can't really think of another sports anime that handles sports as a business the same way that Gurrazeni already does. Also, the fucking opening is the jammiest of jams.
The opening was
it's literally a disco hip hop song.
Yeah,
it's fucking awesome.
That was really good.
Gundam Build Divers is the third in their Build Fighters anthology series.
Series. How much of it have you seen? Because there was
I've seen the first episode.
There was also a 15-minute prologue.
Yeah, I haven't seen the prologue.
So I've seen that in the first episode, and the second episode aired today. I haven't seen it. It has vastly different staff from the first two.
Yeah,
which is worrisome. I enjoyed it, but it didn't get anywhere close to catching me the same way Try or the original did.
No, not at all. Try, I think, of the three is probably the most bombastic, I would say. Did
you ever go back and watch the original?
I've seen a few episodes of the original, but I've never... I think I've seen a few episodes of the original to understand what it was going for, and I know it's super good. It's just the type of thing where it's just like, I don't know if it's important enough for me to ever go back and watch it.
You're a 2D mech
other than his mom.
nerd.
What's his name? Mom.
Yeah, Iori says.
Oh,
yeah.
Christ.
That is the best anime mom.
The ultimate mommy GF. But yeah, Build Fighters Try was super fucking good and was basically a showcase for like every good 2D mecha animator that you would ever want.
I mean, the reason to watch any of these shows if you aren't into the toys, because the Gundam lore has nothing to do with it. It's about 2D Sakuga, just mech Sakuga.
Well, and I don't think the Gundam lore has nothing to do with it. I think it's really cool in the sense, and I wrote this in the preview.
A lot of fan service shout outs, and that's the extent.
I think it's really cool because you get to see these like really highly customized versions of the Gundam that you're familiar with. Like, it's basically the type of thing like, oh, what would win in a fight between a tiger and a lion? Like, it's like, what would win in a fight between the RX-78 and, the fucking Wing Gundam or whatever, like the Crossbones Gundam, like
the Death Scythe.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's just
it's a nerd fantasy.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a total nerd fantasy, and it's, it is a kid's anime, so it's big and dumb and fun.
I do love the premise of this new one because in the previous ones, it was people build their Gunpla, and some like magical particles make them come to life. And this is literally like
VR.
And this, it's VR chat with Gundams.
It's more like Sword Art Online with Gundams.
Yeah, like you go in, it's an immersive world. It seems like it's full dive technology.
It is full dive.
Yeah,
it's called Gundam Build Divers.
Oh, I did not even put that together.
I originally thought that was just going to be a reference to Diver City, which is their.
Oh, it's definitely on purpose. The first episode takes place inside of Diver City, and having just been to Diver City, the inside of it looks almost exactly like how they've redone it.
Yeah. Which is probably super on purpose.
Oh,
but
yeah, absolutely.
Here's the thing. I was, I'm still skeptical about the show because that first episode definitely did not catch me as much as the build burning.
I loved the two main characters, but at the same time, the plot and the general.
Here's the thing. I don't know. We got to talk about that one guy. The character who's basically a transvestite.
Oh,
who is their mentor?
You know, I didn't even think about that because that's just like
here's the thing.
Happens in mech shit.
That character, just in the first episode, is good. Like that is maybe one of the most subversive, progressive representations of that type of character in any anime. Because think about it, he is a very attractive but effeminate, muscular man who has painted nails and high heels and a bared chest and is very emotional and effeminate, but he is immediately presented as a respected member of the Gundam community, basically a feared member of the Gundam community.
Was he like number 12 in the world?
He was the 23rd strongest in the world, and is never once played as a other or as the comedy around his character is that he is overly emotional to the point where like when the boys win, he like literally picks them up off the ground and is crying, and they're like, all right, dude, whatever, which is totally a realistic thing that middle school boys would do in that situation, because it's the same sort of reaction they'd have to like their mom, but they never once are just like, ew, why is this guy wearing high heels, or like, well, why is this guy so weird? Like,
it's
which
cool
is great.
Not only that, but you bring up a good point, because it's a VR chat world. Like there's all sorts of avatars. There's like little like Lanobes. There's people. There's like in the prologue you didn't see it, but the prologue was it was like a high level battle. It was like a championship fight, and one of the pilots was literally like a rat person, like fucking Redwall type thing.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
And it's just like never
some weird
mentioned.
Like furry shit in this anime.
Yeah, there's
I saw
like,
in the opening. I was like, what the hell?
There's if you ever wanted a cat girl in your Gundam.
Now I do. You go. Yes. Also a cat girl Gundam probably.
Oh god, I'm so ready.
If that was
just
a thing.
Fuck me up.
But yeah, I mean they're gonna have plenty of opportunities to just completely fuck that character up, and I'm sure they will because it's a kids anime and whatever. But just his initial presentation, the first episode, was really positive and really heartwarming, and I'm glad that they did it. Let's talk really quick about Fist of the Blue Sky Regenesis.
I didn't watch it because everybody said it was awful.
Don't watch it.
Yep, I sure didn't.
This is being animated by Polygon Pictures, who did Ajin Demi-Human and Knights of Sidonia. And
they're the CG. Godzilla. They're the Netflix CG crew.
Yeah, and they're also one of the ugliest, most soulless CG studios today. They make.
And you thought Berserk CG was bad.
I mean, Berserk CGI is worse than most of the stuff that they put out. Like Sidonia didn't look that bad.
Well, Sidonia looked good.
Yeah,
I like Sidonia.
And Ajin, even though the shading was completely off in that series, but like Godzilla legitimately did not look that like good at all. But this series is just it's bad. Those boys are too meaty. He says "Omae wa mo shinderu," but like in Chinese and very bad Chinese. Yeah, it's bad. He literally says it in Chinese, and then one of the guys just like, "Omae wa mo shinderu," and then they die. And I'm like, God.
You go,
No, he didn't. And I'm sure he never will, because it's not good. Anyways, let's move on and talk about a good thing. Lupin the Third Part 5. Have you seen the first episode?
I have not, but I understand that the general consensus is Lupin is silly again, which is good Lupin.
There's literally a point because the whole premise of this season is that they're kind of like tackling modern technology, like hacking and cryptocurrency and all that.
Is Rebecca from season 4 in this?
No.
Is that a thing?
No.
Okay.
She is.
Is it
like most other Lupin characters? I mean, she hasn't. She's only one episode out, so she might show up.
Yeah. Is there continuity from the 4th season?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
But I think only in the sense that like these are the same versions of the characters that are being portrayed.
That's what I was
because it's all the same staff.
What is it on Crunchyroll?
Yeah. It's on Crunchyroll.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, it's on Crunchyroll. The first episode is up now. It is more Lupin. If you like Lupin, you will like this. It is a very goofy interpretation of modern technology by Lupin's standard, because literally there's a point where like the main villains are playing the Lupin game, which means they're like trying to find Lupin because he's fucked with them and they don't like it. And there's literally a point where he's just like, "So everyone in the world's a cop now, huh?"
Oh God, what a
meme. Fucking hard.
That's the fans, or not the fan subber. That's the subber.
Yeah. No, but it's great. It's fucking fantastic.
I saw a clip about Lupin using a spy satellite for a certain devious mean. Can you expand on that?
It's part of the opening.
Oh, that's part of the opening?
Yeah, I think it's part of the opening. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, that's awesome. Can you explain what's going on?
He has a monocle that can hack stuff.
He's using a literal spy satellite to spy on some titty.
Yeah, no,
on
he
like
wants
a
to
French
see some
beach.
titty. I'm pretty sure it's Fujiko titty.
Yeah,
too.
it's Fujiko titty. She's on some like
Which,
French like
fuck,
topless
man,
beach.
I don't blame him.
Right?
I'm telling you,
if
man.
I could hack a satellite for that,
Miyuki Sawashiro as Fujiko is, and I'm drunk enough to just not have any inhibitions to say this at this point because I've been drinking whiskey for basically this entire episode. But
I'm feeling it.
she does the ending as Fujiko. She sings the ending as Fujiko,
Really?
and it's this very wonderful. Like, it's a whole new season takes place in France, which is really interesting because like they very rarely set it in like an actual European country. But obviously, Arsène Lupin is a famous character from French literature who Lupin III is based on, and in the story, Arsène Lupin is the grandfather of Lupin III. So they go back to France in like sort of a pilgrimage. And so they, all the music is very influenced by France. It's got a lot of accordion in it. And the ending is sung by Miyuki Sawashiro as Fujiko. And it is the sexiest thing I've ever borne witness to in an anime. It is... Miyuki Sawashiro has the most sultry voice of any seiyuu, and it is just ridiculously hot. And
She's such a good fit for Fujiko.
She's perfect. She's perfect for Fujiko. You're not watching the Professor Layton anime, are you?
Is that getting simulcasted?
I don't think
I was
it
actually
is,
curious about it. I wanted to because I understand it's about his daughter and it's like a refresher because I haven't played any of the DS games. They seem up my alley, and I saw a trailer that made me interested in it, but I haven't pursued that.
I've heard some pretty damn good things about the whole Professor Layton's daughter thing. So
it seems good with a capital G.
Let's talk about something that maybe is not that good. Cutie Honey Universe.
I didn't see the first episode because
I'm not going to say
people's opinions seem middling.
Yeah, it is middling. There is good and bad. The good is that it is not shying away from Go Nagai's weird sex stuff. The bad is that to me at this point it kind of doesn't really feel like Cutie Honey. And it's also the direction is confusing at best. The animation is already showing signs that I should be worried about this production.
Oh, that's not good on episode 1.
But keep in mind, this is Production Reed. They're a studio who has never actually principally animated an anime before. When the animation looks good, it looks fucking fantastic. But most of the time, it's like...
Yeah, I've seen clips of like the transformations, which are like very male gaze, but that's also super Go Nagai.
It's Cutie Honey.
Yeah,
Cutie Honey is always
that's part of it.
Cutie Honey has always been male gaze. It's always been about fan service. It's always been a shonen series, despite the fact that it has a female main character. But this, this season has this first episode definitely has its redeeming qualities, like Honey sneaking back into her dorm late at night after a mission and finding her best friend tied up in shibari and with whip marks all over her body, and having a sexy tickle fight with her. That's peak Cutie Honey for me. But
I'll watch that after midnight.
The battle is not great. Yeah, Cutie Honey is definitely an after dark anime.
After dark.
Go Nagai after dark.
dark.
Go Nagai basically only writes his manga after dark because all of his manga are after dark. So it's, but the other weird thing about it is that it's exclusive to High Dive. So it's not available anywhere else.
I mean, I have High Dive, so...
Yeah, me too. I got High Dive specifically for this. So I would say if you like Cutie Honey, check it out. I would go into it with pretty low expectations, but it is also incredibly unfriendly to new Cutie Honey viewers.
Yeah,
which I feel
mostly everybody.
I feel bad about because I just made that fucking video basically being like, "Hey, everybody should watch this," and then nobody can understand what the fuck's
But I
happening.
mean, this is going to sound mean to High Dive, but I feel like most people on High Dive are old school anime fans anyway.
True.
Because what are the reasons to get High Dive right now? Legend of Galactic Heroes
and maybe Cutie Honey Universe.
and maybe Takunomi and
yeah. Okay, let's talk about Okay.
have you watched it?
I have. I've seen the first episode.
I want to because I'm an old fan. Like I love Gegeki
that
no
opening
Kitaro.
was an immediate earworm for me.
Yeah, no, it's
this
great.
is my first experience with it.
Really? How did you feel about it not knowing anything about Gegeki no Kitaro?
I was saying this to Kat earlier, but I feel like I have been spoiled by Ushio and Tora being my first yokai show
thing,
because that shit was by far one of the best. It was, by far the best yokai show I've ever seen so far, and I've seen enough of them to know that that's probably not a genre that I am going to be predisposed to liking. This is definitely up there, but I don't know. I liked certain aspects of it, and I didn't like certain other aspects of it. It felt somewhat empty to me. The production seems slick enough, but it also seems definitely like Toei is making it.
Yeah,
in a way.
No, it definitely is. I personally, I
know you had some pretty lofty opinions of it.
This
but
rendition of it. First of all, coming from where it is, which is replacing Dragon Ball Super's time slot.
True.
I thought that was really good because there's a lot of first-time watchers here, and I heard, unfortunately, a lot of negative opinions, mostly from people who were coming from Dragon Ball Super.
Yeah, that's true.
I think they're missing the point, but
yeah, there's no comparison between the two.
Yeah, they're very different things, but as far as how it's handled, I mean, Gege no Kitaro goes back so far, and it I won't say single-handedly, but it is largely responsible for the proliferation of like yokai in popular Japanese culture.
No, that's like one of the first sentences. I went and read the Wikipedia article after I watched the first episode, and it is pretty much solely responsible for the proliferation of like traditional yokai aesthetic into manga,
which is super cool because one thing that at least the anime adaptations of it, because the manga there hasn't been a new manga in forever, obviously.
Yeah.
The dude's dead. But that's recent. That was a dick move. That was like within the last 2 years.
I mean, he is.
Yeah, he is.
It doesn't change it.
It's cool because it's been like slowly updated for new levels of technological proliferation. I'm a little deep now.
Yeah, no,
drink wise. But like one of the main tenets in the first manga was yokai have kind of died out as Japan has progressed culturally.
Yeah,
we have TVs now, we have radios now. How do yokai fit in? How can we bring them back? And now we've got like the first episode was about a kid, undoing a seal on a rock for YouTube. And then, it turned out to be a tree vampire that turned people, it was a yokai.
Yeah, what a
that
weird,
turned people into trees.
What a weird yokai too.
It's full of them. And I generally I'm biased towards enjoying yokai things. I love that folklore. I've always found it interesting between Natsume Yujinsho, Gege no Kitaro, all that stuff, Nurarihan no Mago, and all of it. I love it. And it's the progenitor of it all. And I am really, really liking this edition. The character designs look great. We have the new character in Maya. The update for Nekomusume is really good.
Heads are a little big for my taste, but
Toei.
That's just Toei. Yeah,
it's
that's
Toei.
True. I didn't think about that, but that is kind of their thing, isn't it? Big heads.
I like the designs. It is a kid show. It's airing in that Saturday morning slot.
Yeah,
I'm really liking it, and I went into it predisposed towards liking it, but even then I saw that first episode and I was like, they are really trying. They are not half-assing this. This is more than what I expected, and honestly more than I wanted.
I mean, it's it's one of those things where if you're going to make a new version of it, you kind of have to.
You have to try.
There's only one way to do it.
It's been a thing since the '60s. It kind of has some fans.
Yeah.
I'm all in it. It's going to be a long show. We're going to have more than 50 episodes. We're going to, it's going to be Monster of the Week, but y'all know I'm a fan of kids anime. That's what Pretty Cure has been for the last 12 years, and I've seen every season of that.
Well, good on Crunchyroll for getting it. That's definitely not their usual fare. That's for sure.
No, and good on them they've been pushing hard social media advertising wise. Like they're there. I've seen a lot of Nekomusume posts, which is good because she's good.
Probably should do more of this and less of Magical Girl Ore.
I would not be against that. I like Gege no Kitaro a lot.
It definitely has potential for me.
I really like this season so far.
Yeah. So Hisone Tomasa-tan and Jushinki Pandora have both been licensed by Netflix, unfortunately, so we won't be seeing those for months. Yeah. Captain Tsubasa, on the other hand, is a very interesting case.
Did that get licensed?
Captain Tsubasa was licensed like 3 months ago by Viz Media, and they hold all of the licenses.
How does Viz normally do? Because Viz had Viz had One Punch Man, though. Who got One Punch Man?
They sometimes Crunchyroll did. Oh, yeah, no, Crunchyroll did. I think, unless it was a Daisuke exclusive.
Shit, it was.
Yeah.
Daisuke doesn't exist anymore.
Daisuke doesn't exist anymore, and Captain Tsubasa fucking radio silence from Viz.
Do you know
So I have no idea.
Do you know who has it outside of the US? Because Captain Tsubasa is specifically, I mean, it's popular the world over, but Arabic countries go insane for it. The Middle East, they're all about Captain Tsubasa. Captain Tsubasa is anime and manga to them.
I have no
I'm
idea.
wondering what's going on there.
It's frustrating because this was one of the other sports anime this season I was super excited by, because this is being adapted by fucking David Production, who is like the JoJo studio, and it looks like they are taking a very JoJo approach to Captain Tsubasa, which I like. But anyway, we'll update you with that if we can. It's basically the only show on our preview that doesn't have a link to its show page yet or licensing
that's so upsetting because Captain Tsubasa is
it's huge.
It's a big deal.
It's one of the biggest sports anime and manga franchises ever.
Real quick, we're scrolling past Jushiki Pandora. This is upsetting to me because this number one is not licensed. It's the new Kawamori satellite show.
Netflix.
Oh, Netflix did get it.
Netflix has Hisune Tomasatan, Jushiki Pandora, and Piano no Mori.
Oh, I didn't realize
that's
they had
their 3 shows
Pandora.
this
I did not pick up on that news. Yeah. But
it's called Last. Hold on, I'll tell you what it's called.
What's different is that nobody's subbing it either. 2 episodes are out. 2 episodes aired at once. I have not to this date seen a fan subs.
Speaking of which, real quick, just a shout out to our spring preview, which I think is probably the most intensive preview that we've done since we started doing only the shows that we want to watch. It has all the links to all of the show pages on their respective simulcasting services. So if you still are wondering what to watch this season, go check that out. Jushiki Pandora is called Last Hope in English.
I think that's the subtitle in Japanese.
And there actually is a English Netflix page for it already with the title. It just, you just can't play it. You can't play it because
if I put on my VPN, if I can do that?
I'm sure you probably can.
Noted.
If they were doing that with Violet Evergarden, I'm sure. The only other show that hasn't been licensed yet, mostly because it has a super late premiere, is Love is Hard for Otaku. At least I haven't seen anyone license it yet. But
that's weird.
I would not be surprised if Crunchyroll got it.
That's a very Crunchyroll type show.
Yeah, very much. Anyways, in the interest of time, let's keep moving on. Amanchu Advance.
I haven't watched the first episode. I think
it's more Amanchu.
Yeah,
it's great.
Here's the thing. I loved Amanchu. This season is so loaded. I'm not sure if I want to get into a second season. I love it, and I love the way the first season made me feel. It was one of my favorites that season, but I know it's going to be more of the same, and I'm not sure if I have time for it.
You do. It's Amanchu. It is going to fill the Eurocamp-sized hole in your heart.
I'm here right now. I know as soon as I watch the first episode, I'm going to be like, I was a fool.
You're in. You are a fool. Because Amanchu is a fantastic fucking show. And, here's the other thing. Way gayer than the first season already.
It was headed that way. They are my favorite lesbian Muppets.
They literally have a scene where they're like knee-deep in water, and they just start blushing because they both tell each other how much they love each other so much. Like, there's literally a scene where what's her name is just like, oh, well, Picari, it's just because I love you so much. And then she's just like, oh, because she realizes what she said. And then Picari's just like, oh, well, I love you too, I guess. And yeah, it's fucking wonderful. If you don't watch that show, I'll never forgive you. It's fucking amazing.
So that's how we end the podcast. Okay.
It's good. It's Amanchu. It's more Amanchu, man. Amanchu's magic. Yeah. Remember how much we love that show?
Yeah, I do.
It's really good.
There's just so many good things. Like
Mahou Shoujo Ore?
No, go back. You are not.
Oh,
skipping.
right. Sorry, I didn't even see that one.
So okay,
Uma Musume Pretty Derby.
That's the word that I wrote the most words about on the preview, and I am not
Horse
sorry.
Girls.
This is, we talked about it when they showed the first trailer almost 2 years ago, where we weren't even sure what it was. Side Games was like, "Hey,
this
here's
thing
girls."
has been around forever, hasn't it?
It's been 2 years. Yeah, they're like, "Hey, here's girls. It might be an anime, it might be a video game. We aren't going to tell you yet, but here's girls. They're horses. They're racing. They're idols. They're figure skating. They're gay.
They are gay.
Yeah, and you know what? I tweeted the other night to at least 3 likes that I was going to like
Glad you're counting.
Uma Musume regardless, but I'm glad that it's good. The execution is fucking top notch. It pains me to say this, being a PA Works fan. PA Works is probably doing the best job they've done on anything with Uma Musume. Like, it's painful that they're there.
Okay, for what it is, it's great.
Yeah,
but
I think execution is taking over.
I think we all need to realize that what it is fundamentally one of the dumbest fucking things.
No, I'm not going to fight you on that. It's dumb, but I love it.
There is just an underlying...
Okay, so
here's
backing up
the
for a
thing.
second. Okay, go on.
Horses freak me the fuck out. I should just say that first of all. They're gross. They take massive shits, and they're just like jacked killing machines that can bite your fucking head off
also
and
are always
kick
trying
you
to
so
kill
hard
themselves.
you die. And taking that terrifying monster of a thing and combining it with the most pure being on earth, the moe anime girl, is giving me some of the most confusing. Because like it's so
It's
easy to forget that they're
dissonance.
actually supposed to be horses until the dude fills up her legs and
which
she
is
kicks
exactly
his,
what a trainer does, right in the face.
yeah, and she kicks him like a horse does, and I'm just like, oh no, but they're really horses though.
Yes, I love it.
How about the scene where she answers the phone and she's holding the
She's holding it up to the horse ear. Yes. Listen, that is like one of the biggest things with Animal Girls and anime. Which ear is real?
It's one of the biggest questions.
Now we know it's the horse ear. I unequivocally love this show. It is.
It's fun.
I expected to like it, and I like it a million times more than I thought. There's
Horse girls.
yeah, horse girls with our bag of oats.
Nothing a good bag of oats can't fix.
It's an awful inside joke, but
Yeah, one person will
it's-
get that.
Yeah, if they even listen anymore, I don't
Hi,
know.
Cat.
Right? But no, it's one of those things where, for better or for worse, they're putting their all into it, and there is
You just gotta like it.
there is a stupid amount of thought put into it. There are over 40 characters on the main site, and they have unique designs, much like Kantai Collection.
Ooh, they're
where-
committing to those names too. Let me tell you.
all of the girls are actual thoroughbred Japanese racehorses,
Yep.
and they
Well,
they
not
have
all of
these.
them. There's some American horses in there
Yeah,
too.
and they
El
all
Condor
have
Pasa.
they all have shout outs. El Condor Pasa is a Japanese horse.
Is it?
Yeah, it was sired.
Oh, right. That's the whole joke.
It was sired by the student council president.
That's the whole. That's the
Yeah.
whole joke.
Yeah,
Because
so
yeah,
all the horses, on top of like being actual horses, they have shout outs to them. Like one of my favorites is Uraharahara, is a horse that got famous for being bad. Like it was a horse that was it was during the collapse of the .com boom in Japan, which is a big deal, and Japan for some reason rallied behind it after a newspaper article went out about this horse and jockey that where a normal horse would have been slaughtered and turned into glue by now. They just wanted to keep on going, and this horse lost, I think, 112 races without winning a single one.
Surprised it lived long enough to
There
race
is
that
an
much.
ESPN 3030 documentary on this horse.
God.
So it's a big deal, and of
Jesus.
course, in the show, the horse is endlessly optimistic, and it loses awfully every race. And it's, there's shout outs like that. There's shout outs in all of their designs. It's entertaining.
That's funny.
The races are also good. Like it gets your heart pounding, sort of like a sports anime. It's a good time. And
yeah,
also,
no, it's definitely a sports
also
anime. in a lot of ways.
the top 3 horses get to do an idol concert.
That to me is the most insane part.
That's the best part.
It is literally so crazy to me
Yeah,
that
there
that
was,
happens, but it makes sense.
There were a lot of people upset at the pervy trainer in the first episode, which I get. Like, I understand. There was really no reason to do that. They could have easily done the Love Live thing where guys just don't exist, and I would have been cool with that.
That would be cool.
But what's funny about the trainer is, and Danny brought this up, is that trainer acts like a horse trainer. Everything he did in the first episode is what a horse trainer does. Yeah, it was pervy. Yeah, it was played for the jokes. But
it was pervy to make a joke about it.
Yeah,
like that's
and
part of the humor.
The third episode,
Not that I'm defending it or anything.
Yeah.
But.
Well, the third episode, they backed away from it too. He was just like
Yeah.
a normal trainer trying to do best for his horses. And there was even a touching moment after Special Week loses a race.
Yeah.
And he's frustrated, or she's frustrated, obviously. She lost her first race. And he's frustrated because he didn't prepare her for this.
Yeah. I don't have any more to say about the horse girls. They freak me out, but
Obviously,
it's still a fun show.
I feel very strongly about this
Yes.
show. I will fight for it.
Let's talk about Caligula real quick. I don't want to spend too much time on this because I don't
watched
really
the
have
first
a whole lot to
episode.
say.
It was all right.
Yeah, it was all right, but I will say the music is every bit as good as I thought it was
Oh,
going to be. The
God.
music is
Yeah,
really fucking good.
So, I want to call her Ueshama because that's what I know her as. Her actually, I want to say Ueda Reina, the one
Yeah,
that
it's Reina
plays.
Reina. Yeah.
She has such a range people don't talk about often because normally in a show she's an idol and she sings and she's got that one voice, but in Prepara, she plays no less than 3 characters that all have separate singing roles.
Yeah.
And when they do live Prepara shows, she does all 3 characters at once
Jesus
and quickly
Christ.
swaps through all of them. She might have the most impressive and most profound range out there, and I'm really happy to see her in anything.
Damn.
And she's like one of the main characters in Caligula, so I'm going to watch this to the end regardless.
Okay, well, we're getting to the top of the list, which means that we're also getting to some of the best anime. But here's the thing: we just crossed the 2-hour mark, so
Ooh, yeah, we need to
let's
lightning round.
give thumbs up and thumbs down, and we'll just maybe say a few words about each show. But obviously, if you follow me on Twitter, you know that Megalobox is definitely my favorite season.
2 thumbs and dick up.
Yeah, Megalobox is
that's
an anime out of time. They don't make anime like this anymore.
That's the strongest first episode I've seen in a very long time.
It's amazing.
People are going to hate me for this if anybody's listening this long. That's probably the strongest first episode I've seen since Sword Art Online. That was a good first episode.
Megalobox is incredible. It
was perfect.
It's such a strange, awesome production that just should not exist, but it does.
I watched that in the airport, and after the first episode, I kind of sat there with a dumb grin on my face and laughing like, this anime exists, and it's this good.
Most importantly, it is an anime that has hip-hop in it.
Yeah,
there's a hip-hop insert song. The soundtracker is someone who worked on fucking Kids on the Slope and is now doing like a full-on hip-hop soundtrack. But not only that, the voice acting is great, character designs are great, animation is great. It's all fucking good. So yeah, please watch it. You said Full Metal Panic has not premiered yet.
Nope.
I would assume. Golden Kamuy.
I didn't see the first episode yet. I haven't gotten to it.
I would say about this.
One of
it has an interesting premise. It didn't blow me away, but the CGI bear really is that bad.
Yeah, one of the prevailing moods I've heard about this is that people like it enough and like the idea enough that they're being compelled to read the manga.
Yes.
The manga is excellent and doesn't have CGI bears.
Everybody that has read the manga, that watched that anime, has universally said read the manga. So yeah, I would say probably read the manga. I'm going to continue watching the anime just because I don't really have time to read the manga right now. But yeah. Patrick, Hinamatsuri. Have you seen the first episode?
So Hinamatsuri is yes, I have. Have you?
Okay. No, okay. I'm not watching it.
So Hinamatsuri, I watched it and I realized like 3/4 of the way through the episode, I've read this manga.
Oh shit!
I read the first maybe dozen chapters like several years ago. I believe it's monthly. So
yeah,
but it's cute. If did you watch Zoroku to Alice?
No.
Zoroku and Alice? Okay, it's one of those shows.
I saw the first episode and hated it, so no, I didn't
really?
watch it.
Well, it's one of those shows. If you like one of those awkward thrust upon like parent sibling relationship things,
yeah,
you'll like it. So almost like Inazuma, Sweetness and Lightning,
right?
Almost like that, where it's very much about a father-daughter bond. But in this, the dude is a Yakuza who likes to collect vases, and the girl has telekinetic powers. And literally appears in his living room and breaks everything. And they somehow form like a really fucked up pair, but it's adorable. And the way they work together is fantastic.
Damn.
And the comedic timing in it is really solid.
I've heard a lot of people say a lot of good things about the comedy.
I really enjoyed the first episode.
That's good. Have you seen Mahou Shoujo? Is it Sight?
Yeah, Sight. Not only have I seen it, I read the manga all the way up to where Japan is because people stopped scanlating it over a year ago. It's I don't know what the prevailing mood is about it. It's another dark magical girl, so much so that a lot of people are turned off because it is a lot. Like the first episode is about a girl getting like relentlessly bullied. When I talk about relentlessly bullied in anime, normally it's like people putting tacks in your shoes.
Yeah,
she gets tacks in her shoes. People put glue on her seat. She comes home, her brother ties her up and like punches her in the stomach so much that she mentions that she's worried about not getting her period, and it gets darker than that.
Fuck.
So it goes really hard, and in the first episode it seems like they're going hard for the sake of going hard. And it turns a lot of people off, and honestly, I completely understand that. But having read the manga, I think it's worth to sit through that because it evens out. And the characters that deserve shitty things to happen to them, it's coming.
Okay. I think this is kind of a no-brainer, but Die Neue These, Legend of Galactic Heroes.
So the first episode, y'all know I'm a huge fan of the original, but the reason I never bring it up is because the barrier to entry is so high. It's 110 episodes. It's super old. People just don't like that style. What I hoped for the first season was for it to get people to watch the original, especially because it's available on High Dive, or if you want to spend $800. Let's not talk about that.
Yeah, fuck that.
But the first episode I thought was good, and I feel like people who are into a space opera would really enjoy it. But when comparing to the actual show, I felt like it faltered.
Yeah, I think that was most people's opinion.
That having been said, the second episode was leagues better, much because we got the second half. The first episode showed just the Imperials, which is not, I can't even say half of the story. Yeah. The second episode actually replayed the events of the first episode, mostly from the Free Planets Alliance point of view, but sprinkling in more flavor for the Imperials at the same time. That show needs both sides to be what it is. And the second episode put most of my worries to rest.
That's good.
I'm still upset that it's not scored with actual classical music like the original.
What are you going to do?
But the second episode was so interesting and so good that I didn't even realize that until the episode had ended.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Good. Production IG, they can do really good shit when they want to, and it looks like they want to.
Yeah.
I'm going to say definitely a big yes on Persona 5, the animation for me.
I haven't seen the first episode yet.
It's very stylistic. It's exactly, I think, so far it is exactly what you would want out of a Persona 5 animation. I did see today that the director is saying that there is some sort of big surprise waiting for viewers that have played the game in terms of differences from the game. So we'll see that. But yeah, I mean, in terms of production, they're definitely putting a lot more into this than they did the Persona 4 anime, and it shows because it looks really good and it feels like Persona in a big way.
That's important. The Persona 4 adaptation wasn't good, mostly because it was uninspired.
Yeah.
Like, it was a by the books, boring adaptation. And from what I've heard, what I've seen from clips, this doesn't look like that.
No, it is, I would say, pretty on par with the Daybreakers, which was that like prequel anime that they made, or that promotional anime that they made before the game came out. It's good. Yeah, I would say the first episode is pretty good. But I keep in mind, I'm also saying this having never played Persona 5 and not planning on ever playing it. So speaking of another good thing, Sword Art Online Alternative, Gun Gale Online.
Another good thing. I'm glad you said that because I loved it.
I did.
A lot of people's problem with Sword Art Online, and it's a good problem, is that Kirito's overpowered and boring. We don't have that in Len. We have a beginner that doesn't know what she's doing, and we got somebody coaching her through it.
Yeah. We also have very clearly a mommy GF. Basically, the whole premise behind her character is that in real life, she's a big girl. She's tall.
Yeah.
And in the game, she is tiny. Very tiny.
They didn't explore that all in the first episode.
No.
Actually.
They kind of just revealed it and then just let you...
Actually, most of that first episode was from, I want to say, the second volume, especially the reveal at the end with her talking to the other people. You don't find out about them until much later in the book. But you know what? I really liked how they did that.
Fun.
There was another light novel adaptation. I can't remember which. But I remember when I was trying to sell the show to my friends, I would show them the second episode before the first because it had action instead of the exposition.
Yeah,
and that's what they did perfectly here. And who possibly cannot like a cute like rabbit girl referring to her P90 as P-chan? Like that's
so fucking stupid, but
so
funny.
Good. And like that like John Woo action scene with her like popping out of the suitcase. Like,
it's good. It's good. And Keiichi Sixawa's love of guns is definitely coming through in this.
It's the strength of the world of Sword Art Online and Gun Gale without most of the reasons why people dislike Sword Art Online.
This is exactly the type of SAO series that I know will appeal to me the most because GGO was my favorite MMO that they play in by far. So I'm super excited.
You're gonna really like the rest of the show too. It's also like uncanny their timing because PUBG and Fortnite are still popular and the Battle Royale.
They did a Battle Royale.
These books came out 2-3 years ago.
Yep.
They
literally doing a Battle Royale in the anime. Yeah. I still have not seen Tokyo Ghoul Re because it is an exclusive to Funimation.
I haven't seen any of the top 3.
It is an exclusive to Funimation. Anyway, so I don't need to say much about that because I don't think very many people are going to be watching it legally, at least. My My Hero Academia 3, the first episode was easily the most underwhelming first episode of the 3 seasons because it was basically a recap episode and also
after we were promised a fucking beach episode.
Yeah, and it wasn't even a beach episode, it was a pool episode.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even a good pool episode. So, yeah, I mean, but it's still fucking My Hero Academia. It's going to be great. It's that show.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. And Steins Gate Zero hasn't premiered yet. And that's the end of the list.
Tune in next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be good. I'm actually not worried about it at all.
Yeah. We'll be doing another podcast like specifically dedicated
Yeah, we'll expand
to
quite a bit
this season
more.
once we got like 2 or 3 episodes in for each show. So, but so far it's looking good. A lot of stuff looking good.
Yeah. I hope something happens with Captain Tsubasa. That's really upsetting.
Yeah, I'm really pissed off that nobody has like I'm really pissed off that Viz just hasn't even said anything about it.
Yeah.
And that seems pretty uncharacteristic for them, considering that
they're
really pretty communicative.
They do such a good job with Shonen Jump and getting new popular series. I read Dr. Stone.
Did you? Okay, cool.
Solid. That's definitely a pun.
I've heard
based on
nothing but good things about it.
So we were wondering about what the story is. So basically, it seems like a virus or something attacks and everybody turns to stone at once, and it's just through like pure strength of will and not wanting to lose themselves that thousands of years later the 2 main characters wake up.
Holy shit.
It's solid. I don't want to say more than that, but the 3 chapters that are available on the Viz app without paying for more of it, really interesting.
I hope that it continues because the art just by itself
it's like Shield 21 art.
Yeah. Well, it's not iShield 21 art. It's the writer of iShield. It's not
really?
fucking what's his
similar.
name. It's not One Punch Man. I can't remember.
Yeah. More.
Yusuke Murata. Yeah, it's not Yusuke Murata. Trust me, I'd be fucking reading it if it was Yusuke Murata.
Similar.
Anyways, so before we
time.
go, we have some questions. And the first question comes from Mark1246 or Mauricio Cuervo, who is one of our followers on Twitter, but he sent this in at the onoanime@gmail.com. He sent in 2 questions. His second question I actually answered basically for both of us on stream last week. I was doing a retro game stream on YouTube, so if you want to go check out the answer there, you can check that out.
It's around hour 2 minute 30. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean we're also at the 2.5 hour mark almost now, so we got to get through these quick. But Mauricio asks, has anime helped you for anything you deal with in the real world? For example, by watching anime, I knew and recognized iconic landmarks and cities in Japan when I went there for the summer. And was able to explain to my dad all about it, including what an onsen is. This, I'm just drunk enough to get honest about this. Anime, I think, has made me just more comfortable with anime, and being a member of the anime fandom has just made me more comfortable with being
horny.
quote unquote horny.
Yeah.
And I think has also awoken something in me for a very specific type of character trope. And that character trope is Satsuki Kiryuin from Kill la Kill. That character
awoke. Is you want to be stepped on like most of anti-Twitter.
I want to be stepped on, yes. I did not know that I wanted to be stepped on until I watched anime. So that definitely helped me realize. But also I feel like just watching anime in a weird way, even though like anime is very conservative in a lot of ways when it comes to sexuality, I think getting as into anime as I did, and I think getting as far into the very specific section of anime fandom that I reside in has allowed me to just kind of come to terms with the fact that like, hey, being horny on main, quote unquote, is actually like totally
it's pretty
fun.
Yeah,
it's fun, but it's also just totally fine. Like you don't have to feel weird about like
cartoons and
liking,
other people share the same thoughts.
Yeah, and you don't have to feel weird about your sexuality. You don't have to feel weird about what you like and what you don't like. I mean, it's just, you know, we're all in this together. So anime definitely, I think maybe less anime as a medium and more being part of its fandom in the United States has definitely helped me realize that. Other than that, anime has taught me a lot of Japanese that I would not have learned otherwise.
There's that. That's definitely how I learned Japanese. I'm taking it more literally than Mark did. Yeah. I know so much more about sports.
Yeah. Holy shit, that's true.
And like just like strategy, like specifically, like I mean, I've like been next to baseball my whole life. I've enjoyed going to games, never thought about it much, but there's so many important baseball, specifically anime, that taught me a lot. Like I was never able to enjoy a pitching battle before. I thought that was the most annoying, boring thing. And then Diamond and the Ace happened. I learned more about, what the catcher has to do in that. I learned more about their responsibilities. And, when that was airing, I got a lot more into paying attention to my local team, the Rays pitching lineup, to the point where I was able to guess who they were going to field. And that was literally only because of anime. The same thing happened when the World Cup came around, when Giant Killing was airing. I was adjacent to soccer. I kind of enjoyed it. Giant Killing was this super cool sports anime, soccer anime that aired as it was lining up for the World Cup. And that got me a million times more into the World Cup than I ever would have been.
My most common experience with that, and I think it's most people's common experience because they're two incredibly obscure sports to know stuff about. Haikyuu and Yoapeda both taught me a unbelievable amount of volleyball and competitive cycling.
Never would have. This is awful, but I'm just also drunk enough to say I would have never watched men's volleyball before Haikyuu.
Why the fuck would you?
And then when it's on in the Olympics once again, I'm just like, this is so impressive,
you
and I understand.
Legitimately follow it.
I understand their set plays. I understand what's going on. I know what a libero is.
Yeah,
and
why they wear a different color jersey than everyone else.
It's super cool that anime opened that up for me. And there's a ton of other stuff.
The majority, Ping Pong the Animation and Scorching Ping Pong Girls both taught me that ping pong is an actual sport.
Yeah, and it's not just something to watch at 5 o'clock in the morning during the Olympics.
I cannot fucking wait for Hanebado to teach me about competitive badminton.
Yeah, that's the thing. We got a beach volleyball anime coming up.
Harukana Receive is going to teach me about women's beach volleyball.
That's a lot with sports.
Sports anime definitely actually can teach you a lot about real sports, which is crazy.
To get more personal, like Mark did, anime is responsible so much for me opening up as a person. I'm like almost an extrovert now, and growing up and for the majority of my life I was definitely an introvert, and once I started doing panels and putting myself out there for other people, and I do a panel and all of a sudden there's 10 people in front of me when I'm done asking for my attention, wanting to talk about something with me. That was a big change. And I've made some of my closest friends through that experience now.
But also just, I think in general for me, and I'm sure it's probably the same way for you, like just doing this whole thing.
I mean, I only did the panels because of the podcast.
Yeah. I mean, it's this whole thing has been probably the most meaningful thing I've ever done in my life in terms of just...
It's a ridiculously huge part of my person.
Yeah. Something to give me purpose. And obviously, like anime was in some way a part of both of our lives before we started doing this. But I think this really focused our attention on, what we do, and at least allowed me to enjoy anime a lot more through a much different lens.
I've talked before on the podcast about how I spent so much of my life as a passive. I can't think of the word. I've been drinking too much. Yeah, no. Oh yes, I still think of myself as a Kimoda.
We're both Kimoda.
But as a passive consumer, there we go. A passive consumer of the medium, and doing this has forced me to interact with anime, with not just the fandom, but with anime in such a much more meaningful way. Yeah, I watched a shitload of anime before, but I didn't interact with it in anywhere near as meaningful a fashion.
We've had to immerse ourselves in the industry as well in a way that I don't think we would have if we would have done this, and have like just involved ourselves with it in a way that we couldn't have done without this. So yeah, I mean, anime basically enabled us to like have a passion, I guess, a new passion.
Cool. I think you bring up business actually brings up the next question pretty well.
It does.
I had a Twitter question about something.
Oh, right. Danny from the Anime is Lit podcast asked us. He first asked me, should Mark watch Legend of Galactic Heroes, which is a very controversial question for me.
For you.
It is. For me, it is because it is an incredibly big ask with how I watch
110
anime.
episodes, 3 movies. Let's go.
110 episodes is like my arbitrary, like basically no cross point is 100 episodes. Like if it's less than 100 episodes, then I can at least like try to give it a shot. But y'all, it took me 6 months just to get through Eureka 7, and that was only 50-something episodes.
Start with 1 episode a day, just before you go to sleep, and before you know it, you will be forced to watch 5 to 10 a day.
That's the thing, is that like I don't think I will, because I think you're overestimating my diligence, and also like just think about how many fucking fingers I have in different pies.
No,
I have more fingers in pies than I have fingers on my hands.
When I watched Legend of Galactic Heroes, I wasn't in school. I wasn't working. I was spending all day playing WoW. That's a little different.
Yeah, it's such a huge ask, and I want to so bad, but I'm being completely realistic with myself where I know I'll start it, and I know I won't finish it.
I really hope the new one gets you on that level, though.
Well, that's my current sort of tentative plan is I'm going to watch the Noe Teza, and hopefully by the end of it, I will be so, my appetite will be so whetted for more Legend of Galactic Heroes that maybe it will inspire me to actually watch the real show. But as it stands right now, I'm just doing so many different things that it's such a hard thing to ask for me to watch a over 100 episode show, but maybe at some point in the future. Anyways, Danny asked us a real question, not a real question, but like an actual not joke question. My real question is, have you noticed any visible impacts lately in the industry or in the news from the really high volume of anime being made in the last few seasons? Besides animation quality, have there been any signs of it affecting decisions or industry politics? And that's a really good question. I would say yes. I don't know if it necessarily has affected decision making at a macro level yet, because it's very clear, especially seeing this season, that like the higher ups have had no occasion to slow down on making anime. But the best example I can give of it definitely changing industry politics in a big way is some of you may have read the article that Sakuga Blog wrote last season on Marchen Mädchen and how uncharacteristically frank the higher ups in that production were about how that production broke down and how they just weren't prepared to do that. And I think that's a big trend that you're starting to see is the press is starting to get more concerned with the working conditions of the anime industry as a whole. I think you're starting to see more public, publicizing of that nature, like the sort of grossly negative nature of how badly overworked people in the anime industry are, especially in Western press. But more than that, you're starting to see people in important positions with weight behind their words actually start to speak out about it. And that's big, because to get to that point in Japan takes a lot, because Japan is kind of a whole society built around not speaking out about stuff like that.
That's very true.
So
there's a lot of stuff. I mean, we, beyond that, on like a singular level, like you said about people talking out, we're seeing, much wider production committees where a lot more people have their hands in the same thing. And also, almost more importantly, we're just seeing foreign actors in these a lot more. China, specifically Bilibili, is huge. There is a Bilibili store in the Rajio Kaikon building in Akihabara that is just, it's a store that just focuses on things that they've had a big part in, which is interesting. And of course, we see more and more shows every season where Crunchyroll is in the credits. Or Funimation.
Well, and also speaking of China, we also see more shows that are straight up being animated in China.
Like To Be Hearing.
Yeah.
So we see a lot of that, and it's weird. Like I'm a little worried about it because the collapse did happen. You can't ignore that. But I don't know. Like I don't know where the balance, where the ratio is, because there's a lot more money coming in. Yeah. There's a lot more interest coming in.
Just looking
but I don't know if it's sustainable.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is that just looking at even the production issues that we're already seeing with this season, which is probably the biggest season that there has been in a very fucking long time, in terms of just pure volume. I mean, like, look at AniChart. Anybody looking at AniChart would pull their fucking hair out. We probably covered we covered like 20 shows, and that's probably half of what's being
there
made
were a lot of things in it, like Comic Girls. We didn't talk about Comic Girls, and that's a fucking Manga Time Kirara, where if you guys have listened to every episode, one of my platitudes is, it came from Manga Time Kirara, it's gonna be good. Guess what? I watched the first episode of Comic Girls. It was good. We didn't talk about it because there's too many good anime.
but it definitely feels like we are, and I hate to be fatalist, and I hate to be, sounding the warning sirens here, but it definitely feels like we're starting to approach a breaking point for this fucking industry, because there's a new studio being formed every day, and there's always multiple shows per season that just end in flames. And that
Modern
did not.
Matcha was
that is
the worst example of that I've seen in some time.
Yeah, but we also had like Dynamic Chord, which was a equally horrifically bad production failure.
Yeah, that wasn't something I was watching.
There's almost I know, but it's just like there's almost there's at least one of those shows every season, if not more. And I mean, like, you think about shows that get like infinitely delayed, or like even fucking Kekai Sensen suffered from that, and
yeah,
that turned out to be really good. So it's just like this industry has been at a breaking point for probably 5 years, and they're going beyond that now to a point where there's not enough young talent that's willing to get into
paying them the right way.
They aren't paying them the right way. They're not spreading capital further down the pyramid like they need to be. Obviously you have studios like KyoAni, which are on their own model and actually do care for their animators to a considerable degree compared to the rest of the industry. But it's just like there's not enough people there's not enough people out there to make the amount of anime that they want to make.
It's obvious too. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have things that either give up, like Martin Matchin literally gave up. And then we have things that just look awful.
Yeah.
Instead.
It's easy to see this sort of thing as ubiquitous, but like 10, 15 years ago, this is not really how
there were fewer anime. There was plenty of bad anime, just like there is today.
Yeah. But it's just like there were
you didn't see complete production failures like this.
Yeah. But also there were probably half the amount of anime being produced 10, 15 years ago than there are now.
We got, like 50 something this season? I don't even know.
So yeah. And you had a very, easily discernible, like this is the new generation of young talent, which is now that's a lot muddier and it's a lot smaller. Yeah. Like you can't point to like a generation. And honestly, some of the most exciting people working in the anime industry right now that are young and have a lot of years ahead of them aren't Japanese.
Yeah, we're seeing
guys
a
like
lot
Thomas
of really
Romain
cool,
and Bahi JD, and
we're seeing those guys are interesting because they're more on like a direction and creation end. But as far as just animation, like pure animation
like Chinese
goes,
animators,
there's so many amazing Chinese and Korean animators that have grown up like us watching anime and being inspired by it.
Well, and I think that's probably another industry trend that you're going to start seeing more is less superstar guys like Bahi JD, who are like people are literally looking for their cuts on everything, and more. Especially since the Japanese government is starting to loosen their restrictions on work visas for animators in Japan. I would not be surprised if you started seeing work from guys at like Studio Yota, the guys that did the Castlevania anime and like Steven Universe and all that. Would not be surprised if you started seeing cuts from them appearing in anime probably within the next 3 to 5 years, because they're just as good as any Japanese animator. Their shit looks amazing. And it's great experience. It's a great thing to have on a resume. If you could say, hey, I worked on an anime and something to put out there. But also, it's just, anime has been the global medium for a long time, but it's really getting there now. So anyways, let's get on to the next question from John Smith at the Genki Guy, which I remember is our favorite.
Really John Smith.
His name on Twitter is John Smith, but it's at the Genki Guy. Who are some of your, and this is the question that tied in earlier with our discussion, who are some of your favorite musicians and voice actors outside of Japan?
We talking just like general musicians? Because I listen to a lot of classic rock and honestly, like European pop. ABBA's one of my favorite bands of all time. I'm lame like that. I don't know, for voice
it'd be hard for me to give like any.
I listen to.
I'd have to look at my Spotify history to
I listen to a lot of music. I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm not a weeb. Like the majority of shit I listen to is J-pop and Andy song. But I'm all over the place with U.S. music. I listen to top 40 all the time, and I'm not very discriminatory. I like the vast majority of music. I like country. I like rap. It's hard pressed to find music that I don't like.
Okay, here is my recent Spotify searches. Led Zeppelin, Saint Pepsi, and Esprit, who are both...
Saint Pepsi is on Spotify?
No, it's all Skylar Spence.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Enflow Car Painter. That's
I
not.
found the first time I heard
Rich
Saint
Bryan,
Pepsi.
formerly
There you
Rich
go.
Chica.
There you go. The first time I heard Saint Pepsi was his like slowed down version of a Miley Cyrus song.
Here's a good one. The first album by Dexy's Midnight Runners, who are the Come On Eileen band. Save Ferris, Mighty Mighty Bosstones, Keith Sweat,
Nice.
Sade. Yeah, I have a
There's some
pretty
good shit in there.
eccentric. I have a pretty eccentric.
None of that was bad
Spotify
though.
list.
So like,
No, I don't listen to bad music. It turns out
I do. I definitely do. Here's how you know I listen to bad music. I still listen to stuff I listened to in middle school.
I do kind of too. I was listening to some Coheed and Cambria's first album the other
Coheed and
day.
Cambria is
the
awesome.
Second Stage Turbine Blade, which is
Yes.
the most.
All of their
Coheed.
albums have like the weirdest themes to them.
That first album though is really awesome and stripped down in a way that Coheed and Cambria really kind of isn't. It's like it's not even pop punk like they are either. It's just good.
We need to hurry up though. The
Yes.
the other half
Anyway,
of the question was voice actors outside of Japan. I know you love Kerry Walgren. I'm a big fan of Christina
Excuse me.
V and Stephanie Shea.
Excuse me, Kari Walgren.
Kari, I'm sorry.
Yes. Kari Walgren
I've
is-
never been to one of her panels.
She's fantastic and
Yeah.
incredibly nice. I like sort of all of the like late 90s, early 2000s staples like Steve Bloom, Mary Elizabeth McGlynn. I like some of the newer like Aniplex people,
Yeah.
like obviously Matt
I like
Mercer,
Matt Mercer's
Stephanie
incredible.
Shea, Michael Sinter Nicholas.
I was specifically Stephanie Shea and Sinter Nicholas I wanted to bring up because I admire their voice acting, but more than that, they're
directing.
big into the directing and
Yeah.
they are fantastic at it. And even more importantly, when you go and see them at conventions and you talk to them about directing, they're an open book. They will just start an open dialogue with you. And that's so cool as a fan of behind the scenes stuff for them to be open about that and talk about their iterative process and how being a voice actor affects how they think about being a director.
Yeah.
It's just super cool.
Well, they're also super frank.
Yeah.
Too.
Oh, yeah.
Especially
They're way
Stephanie
open.
Shea does not pull any
no,
punches with
no,
her shade.
never.
Basically, anybody who was on the dubcast for either Kill la Kill or Fate Zero is somebody that I
All
like.
the Christinas are good. Cabanos and V, they're awesome.
Yeah.
Christina V is an important one to me because when I started being a quote unquote fan of her, it was actually way before she was a voice actor. She just did like Haruhi covers of the insert songs on
forgot about
YouTube.
that. Yeah.
And to be able to like enjoy those songs and then see her get hired from like old school Funimation marketing to being part of the SOS Don and then eventually being a fully fledged voice actress, including doing things like she hosted a video game tournament, I think IPL for StarCraft or League like ages ago. Seeing her like grow up through that and then being able to like meet her at a convention, and she's super cool about the whole thing. And she's an amazing voice actress on top of that. It's really cool. There are plenty of people I like
She's
on this
great
side.
and very accessible too. She's very friendly, very open. Yeah, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find American voice actors
most
who
American
aren't
voice actors are like
very nice and very patient. God love them. That you would
I don't know
have
how
to
they
be.
do it.
Richard Epcar is like my number one on the mail list. He's Bato from Ghost in the Shell. He's been around for fucking ever.
Yeah, like Steve Bloom too. I mean, come on,
Steve Bloom. You can't not
the
like
list
the
is
guy.
endless,
Yeah.
and it's so funny because how I feel about them is so different from how I feel about Seiyu.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
I completely different.
I mean, yeah, most of it is wrapped up in nostalgia, but also I just, there's a certain curiosity that I have about shows that I love getting dubbed, and when they're done well, like I named Kill la Kill and Fate Zero, both of which I think were about as well done as you can dub a show nowadays. I have massive respect for people that can actually pull out like a very good performance. Like Carrie Keranen in Kill la Kill is still among some of my favorite English voice acting I've ever heard, simply because she does not pull any punches with her Satsuki. It's very good.
Damn pigs.
So, all right, Patrick, this is going to be mostly for you.
Yeah, Brianna at Bistra. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong.
BSTRA _ Chan.
Who's your favorite Macross girl? Mine's Cheryl. So I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this on the podcast before. The funny thing about Macross Frontier, where Cheryl is from, is almost unequivocally men who watch the show are fans of Ronka and women are fans of Cheryl. I'm fans of both, but I definitely lean Ronka because it's almost like one was made for the women viewer and one was made for the male viewer. But
I'm sure there's an interview somewhere where that is confirmed.
absolutely, it's not even a question. Cheryl is great. She's amazing. She's so like, I'm a guy and she's empowering to me. She's, you know, her individual agency, how she takes control of her sexuality is amazing. And her music, good God, I'm still glowing after being able to, you know, hear her do 2 songs live. Like life defining moment right there. As far as favorite Macross girl overall, that's hard, but probably Ronka. I still listen to Ronka's songs almost daily, and that show just passes 10-year mark. Like, a lot of it is the music, but I do really, really admire her character too. That. You know, the innocent, naive girl who really just wants to sing and just wants to make people happy. I love that. And it's number 2 is probably Freya from Delta. I am first to readily admit that Delta isn't anywhere near as good as some of the other Macross entries, but Freya as a character is excellent. The way she's a classic Genki girl, despite the fact that she knows she's going to die in like a couple of years, even though she's only 14, because Winter Mirians have such a short lifespan. Her character and her outlook is just so inspiring in the face of everything.
Hey, you know who's cool? Sharon Apple.
I knew you were going to say Sharon Apple. I almost replied to this tweet saying, "Oh, Mark's is Sharon Apple." You have kind of a limited feel there. I mean, the thing is, like,
she's not a Macross girl, but in her subversion of the Macross girl stereotype, she is incredibly interesting because she literally has the ability to change her aesthetic and personality at will, because she's a fucking computer. But not only that, she is probably one of the most prescient, forward-looking pieces of writing in any anime.
Here's the thing about Macross girls and how Kawamori kind of creates his characters and writes them. All of them are amazing women and generally really well written. Going back to Lin Minmay, like she's a character that kind of had a shitty home life and is kind of bullied and forced into stuff by her brother, but still has, once again, her own agency and knows she wants to be this incredible pop star and chases that. And the way she tackles, love issues and stuff like that is, for especially back then when the first one, when Super Dimensional Fortress came out, was forward thinking, and that continues with all the other shows. You've got Mylena facing the fact that, her mother and father are on this is from Macross 7, are on two opposite sides of political spectrum. One's a military leader and one's a mayor of a city, and they're constantly arguing, and she's in the middle of this trying to play in a band, and she has to fight for that and has to deal with her weird feelings for Basara, and just it goes through. You can say that about every Macross girl in every generation. They're all best girls.
True. The other thing is, Sharon Apple's the only Macross girl. She's not a girl. She's a computer. She's a terrifying obelisk with a dress attached. She's the only one that turns out to be the villain, isn't she? Yeah.
Some people hate Misa a lot and would call her a villain, but they're wrong.
I mean, like someone who is actively trying to kill the protagonist.
She's an active antagonist
of the anime. You know what though? You know who's the real Macross girl in Macross Plus is
the Valkyries.
No.
Damn.
What's her name? Fucking.
It's been so long.
Oh God! Hold
I know
on.
Who you're talking about.
I'm mad.
It's the girl, the actual girl that isn't an AI.
She has a Chinese name, and I'm completely gonna fuck this up.
No. Look up the characters. I know who you're talking about.
Myung Fang Lone.
Yes, there we go. She's an actual Macross girl. She's the actual girl from that series, and she's great. She also briefly sings "My Boyfriend Is a Pilot," which is fucking awesome. That's the song.
There's like a karaoke scene where she's like half-assedly singing.
That's great.
My Boyfriend Is a Pilot, which is great.
It's needed. It's a staple of the genre.
That and the Super Dimensional Fortress is basically the only two callbacks. Do
you remember the movie? Yeah. That's a difficult question. I love Ronka.
Yeah, no. I mean, how do you pick one?
I will never not love Ronka. She's very important, but like Cheryl's like right there. I mean, Frontier is what got me into them, so obviously that's going to be top, and they're the ones that I've heard live, which puts you closer to them, and they're all great.
Firebomber, not your favorite Macross girl. Firebomber.
Actually, yeah. Now that I think about it, Mark is right. Actually, Basara is by far my favorite Macross girl. How could I say anything else?
Yeah, how could you give any other answer? We saw him at AX. He captured your heart.
Yeah, he caused a dynamite explosion in my heart.
Dynamite explosion.
Once again.
Good old dynamite explosion. Anyway, we're approaching the 3-hour mark of this episode.
We are awful.
So I think that's going to do it for us here. Our spring 2018 preview is up on onoanime.moe or onoanime.com. Please follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/onoanime, or you can just go at onoanime. I'm on Twitter as Vermillionaire with a 3 instead of the last E.
And I'm much easier to remember because I'm Patrick130M. That's my birthday. Send me gifts.
Also, both of our Twitters are in the description of
Are they? Did you do that?
Anime Twitter. I think they are.
I believe you.
Yep, they are.
Cool.
There they are.
Find us there.
We're also on Facebook, but fucking who cares?
Facebook, unless you pay money, Facebook is nothing.
I fucking hate Facebook.
We pay enough money for everything else.
YouTube.com/onoanime is probably the most important link that we can give you.
No, Twitter.com/onoanime is the most important
clearly.
link.
Yeah, we post on there once a week.
Real work gets
done. Go subscribe to us on YouTube. We have a lot of good videos on there.
All right.
They're okay.
Look forward to our hentai terminology video, which we spent 20 minutes talking about earlier.
It's not going to be a video.
Look forward to our audio.
Podcast exclusive.
Yeah.
We'll be posting that at some point.
Look forward to us drinking more bourbon mash.
Yeah, some good bourbon. Anyways, guys, I think that's going to do it for us. Until next time.
Blitz and Dagon.
誰かのせいじゃない